Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Second one is short, and it's rebounded by Halliburton. The Pacers have a timeout. Will they use it? No, they don't. Yes, they do have a timeout. 4 seconds to go. Halliburton for three! Three ball! Up top! Indiana by 1 and 1/10 seconds to go. Inbound. Merrill didn't get it off, and this rivals the Milwaukee finish.
You have got to be kidding me.
If you're the guy, your guys have got to do a much better job of getting open.
Misses Halliburton the rebound. 9 seconds. They do have a timeout. Carlisle's going to let him play. Halliburton steps back and hits. Tyrese Halliburton trying to take Cleveland's heart. And it is over. The Indiana Pacers in a Game 2 stunner.
Now I was going to shoot the floater right there. I kind of was looking around, but I just wanted to get out to the top. And then I just saw me and Ty Jerome at the top of the key. I had space and just trying to make a play. Felt comfortable there and, just knocked it down. But, I think there were so many plays that led up to that moment that were so big. I mean, AA, Superman flew in, Michael Jordan from the top of the key with the tip dunk. Should have been and one. We're going back home where we've had a lot of success over the last 2 years in the playoffs. But I think you have to understand being down 2-0, losing both on your home floor, they're going to come to play desperate. And, this is a team who they don't lose often. You know what I mean? So coming in today, we expected a punch, and we were have to weather the storm. Well, they threw a big punch, there in the first quarter, and we weathered that storm. And so we got to be ready to expect that in the Game 3. It's the great thing about going home. We're going to get 2 days. Everybody take care of their body, get to sleep in their own bed a little bit, and play at home in front of the greatest fans in the NBA.
Wow. I mean, apparently, Kevin Bowen, there's a formula for the Pacers to win in playoffs now. Apparently, you just get down 7 points with less than a minute to go, and no problem, right?
I'm at a loss. I know I sounded like this last Wednesday at 7 a.m., so I apologize for just, winding myself up again here a week later. I guess I'll speak to the Gen Z crowd if I could here at 7:02 in the morning. I don't know if I've ever done that in the history of the show, but Gen Zers, there's your 8 points in 9 seconds. And I find it very, very fitting as we sit here on this May 7th Wednesday morning. It is the 30-year anniversary of that exact moment. And last night, to me, is the only thing I've seen that rivals that moment in this franchise. I know last week had its certainly special, chaotic, crazy, call your cardiologist, final 40 seconds. Last night, to me, is even a notch above that. Jack Buck, man, I don't believe what I just saw, and that's how I feel again on this Wednesday morning. So, Gen Zers, 8 points, 9 seconds. We talk about it. We try to pull up the grainy video on YouTube. If you need to watch it, just go back and dial up the final 45 seconds from last night.
James Boyd?
Just incredible stuff. I mean, obviously you saw me react. I was like, let me hop on Twitter and put a video out there just to get a in-the-moment reaction for my own memory, for everyone else who's kind of feeling the same thing. Watching that game, I probably screamed so loud after that shot because I just thought it was unfathomable. One, I screamed when Max Strus just threw the ball away. I mean, that was a steal by, Nembhard, but he threw it straight to him. I was like, what are you doing? And it was very reminiscent of the Bucks win in the last series the Bucks collapsed in the last series because of everything the Cavs did wrong to put that on a silver platter for the Pacers, and they just took it and ripped it out of their heart. So, I mean, you give Tyrese Halliburton an opportunity to end the game, and he's proven time and time again, especially in these moments now over the last 2 years in the playoffs, that he is clutch. He is big time. He is Reggie Miller reincarnated, even though Reggie Miller's still living. So it was fun. It was crazy. And the only thing I wished sitting on my couch watching that game was that I was there in person, because anybody who was on the road as a Pacers fan, obviously as a player, I mean, to hear how quiet it got, it must have been incredible. And we actually have a reporter there, Shakia Taylor for The Athletic. She talked about that. She was like, it was eerily silent after he made the shot because of where they were. and then all you hear is a screaming of the team that just put you, down 0-2.
Well, you hear it right there in the intro, and Mark, thank you as always for that. Just the silence of that buzzer. I don't know if Sam Merrill was trying to save the 3-point percentage. I don't even think he got the 3 off in time. It's just it's utterly amazing, and this team has been incredible in orchestrating wild finishes going back to March. I remember saying to Rick Carlisle on one of these Tuesdays, have you ever had a month like that with these close finishes? And yet, here they are. Last week, Game 5. Last night, Game 2. They both take it to another level. And it shows you two things on the Tyrese Halliburton front. One, to your point, James Boyd, his knack for wanting the ball no matter what is not something you should take for granted. This is not a guy that was born on third base from an athletic gene standpoint, a 5-star recruit, and he's always been the lead guy everywhere he's been. That hasn't, he's a past first point guard. He'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And yet he wants it late. I thought that was a game last night that, frankly, for the first 46, 47 minutes, we didn't really feel Tyrese Halliburton.
Right.
And yet he misses the free throw and still wants it. He didn't look towards the bench for a timeout. No, he still wants that moment. And then also, you heard it there in the intro, for him to single out, and when you hear AA, that is Aaron Nesmith, for him to single out Aaron Nesmith, because none of that happens without Aaron bleeping Nesmith. He is an absolute animal out there. I've said it before. I wish Max Bowen grows up and plays like T.J. McConnell. Maybe I can shift that to Aaron Nesmith. It is just, it's absurd how the effort he gives on both ends of the floor. I thought one of the sneakiest plays of the whole game was the corner 3 to end the third quarter from Nesmith. It just kind of gave you a little drop of life. It's the first sip of water after a really long night of drinking on a Saturday night. You needed that to start to feel something. And then Nesmith in the fourth quarter. The putback dunk, forcing the turnover. He then, I thought, forced the final timeout, too. Kind of just a play that doesn't go in the box score. His defense on Sam Merrill forces Cleveland's final timeout. Aaron bleeping Nesmith.
Gotta love it. And Mark Dykton's big takeaway, if I'm looking at your social media last night, was after the 3-point shot, the reaction of Tyrese Halliburton. That seemed to get your juices going just a little bit there.
Well, it's the old saying, big time onions. He was doing that in earnest yesterday, and he earned it because that was a hell of a shot.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to Aaron Nesmith again, we were talking about it, I believe, just yesterday.
Thank you for going back to Aaron Nesmith, by the way. Like, he deserves this.
Yeah, no, seriously. I mean,
he was a catalyst.
Tyrese's moment at the end, and we'll remember that shot, and everyone will remember that. But it does not happen, like you said, Kevin, if Aaron Nesmith does not keep playing until the final horn. That is, I believe, I tweeted it out, and I'm not saying this like I deserve credit. It's obvious. Everyone's saying this, and we should all agree. One of his greatest traits is that he never stops playing. No matter the circumstances, no matter the score. Like you said, Kevin, I thought that 3-pointer to cut it to 14 going into the fourth. 14 is a lot different than 17 going into the fourth quarter on the road. And again, he forces you to react to him. And I know people are saying, it was a lane violation on the putback dunk, which if you look at it, everyone is committing a lane violation. So I'm like, don't call it now. But just the aggression, I'm going to force the ref to call something. I'm going to force you to react to me. Even him just sticking his face in there and getting elbowed by Donovan Mitchell. Of course, that didn't feel good, but that gets you an extra possession. And they're lucky that it wasn't a flagrant, because I was thinking, man, they don't even get free throws out of this. Doesn't matter. And then, again, every single little thing the Pacers had to do, they found a way, and the Cavs just wilted. And I thought that they just didn't seize the moment. Even on the box out on Tyrese Halliburton's missed free throw, Donovan Mitchell, who was awesome the entire game, he didn't box out. Got ball watching, went straight to the basket. Tyrese goes over his back. I think Miles tipped it. Tyrese gets it. And then it's food. And, fittingly, I saw this late last night, Kevin. There's a podcast, and this is why you should ban all current athlete podcasts. Ty Jerome was on a podcast, I believe this season or fairly recently, and he was asked in some sort of context, it was like, who would you rather take or whatever, Derek White or Tyrese Halliburton? And he said Derek White. And I'm thinking to myself, and they provided some more context. It was who plays the right way, king of the hill, meaning like, I guess if this player plays the right way better than the other. I'm like, whatever context you want to give, you would never pick Derek White over Tyrese Halliburton unless you're just a hater. And then fast forward, the guy you picked against cooked you for a game. Twice, actually. He beat you off the dribble to get fouled late, and then he beat you off the dribble, step back three in your face. And so, I mean, rough night for Ty Jerome and a great night for the other Ty and Tyrese Halliburton.
Rough night for Donovan Mitchell at the end. All you do is go out and score 48 points. You get 9 assists. You get 5 rebounds. And not only do you give it up at the very end, your team collectively, but you have another calf strain after you get dunked on the follow dunk by Nesmith. Who knows what his status is going to be like a couple of days from now. Maybe it'll be okay. Sometimes calf strains linger a little bit. But, Kevin, it's fair to wonder, just even physically, what did the Cavs lose after that game last night?
Yeah, I mean, you potentially just flat out broke them. I mean,
I feel like it's mental. Like, you lose like that. Oh, my gosh.
Right. And I mean, they were sitting. I mean, can you imagine? And we did talk about this hypothetical yesterday of if Cleveland somehow gets this 1-1 and now all of a sudden they get into a decent bill of health come Friday, who knows? But again, I hate that finish, guys. It's just I can't tell you how many moments the rest of the night, even this morning, I had one of those moments where I was like, wait a minute. For a split second, I'm like, did that just happen? I had the thought of like that. No, Kevin, that's game 5 last Wednesday. The coffee's not hitting you right here on this Wednesday morning. You're thinking back to last week. And for those 2 games to happen, like, sure, we can dissect it and, oh my gosh, the Pacers' resiliency and fight to the finish, it's absurd. And like, yeah, like all of those things are true, but just to sit here and have 2 of those games, the NBA hasn't seen 2 of those games in the last, 30 years? I mean, ESPN throws all these stats out here. There's been 1,100 of these moments where a team's been up 7 with 40 seconds to go in the playoffs, and only 3 times in the last 30 years a team has erased it, and the Pacers have done it twice in the last week. Like, let's just sit in that for just a second.
Yeah.
It is absolutely, utterly absurd. In 30 years, James Boyd's offspring will be doing this show, and they will be talking about that moment. Like, 8 points in 9 seconds, it's a thing of its own because it was just, I mean, it was Reggie.
It was in Madison Square Garden. It was all those things, yeah.
And I just find it eerily fitting, as we sit here today on the 30-year anniversary of it, you had some version of the same sort of heroics, and it deserves to be plural. Multiple people were involved in it. If you look at that finish, absolutely stunning. I hope that we all have the right words to try to put it into decent perspective here over the next 3 hours, because that is one we'll remember for the rest of our lives.
We might just keep hearing the highlights from last night over and over because that tells the story as well. All right, it's a busy morning, and we're going to be Pacers, and why not? We're going to try to come back from 7 down with less than a minute to go is what we're going to do all day long. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. The morning show continues next. dunked on a follow last night by the aforementioned Neesmith and appears to have a calf strain. It's something that had bothered him for multiple weeks not that long ago, 2 seasons ago, I believe. So it'll be worth watching that one as we come back to Indiana.
Mark, you got the call log from the other morning? I believe we had a caller say the Pacers should sit all of their starters in Game 2, and I think I said respectfully that's the dumbest call in the history of this show. And James Boyd, I think you were right. I shouldn't have even said respectfully.
No, disrespectfully.
How about Benedict Mathurin in that third quarter? Again, we get lost in a little bit of the Halliburton moment, and understandably, that play will be played endlessly, and we'll talk about it a lot here this morning. But what Mathurin did for this team in that third quarter, remember, the lead had swelled to 20. It had gotten up to 20. Mathurin goes in the game kind of right around that time frame, and I thought and really on a team of highly skilled players, Mathurin brings a unique skill. I don't know if there's anybody on the roster that can have such an ugly first half. Again, he got benched with 2 fouls. Hadn't really done a whole lot in Game 1, and yet in the blink of an eye, he can fill it up like that for you. I thought he was massively critical on a night where your bench was really, really poor.
It was pretty good stuff. Also contributing to that big lead for the Cavaliers, Max Strus seemed unconscious from outside last night. He had 23 points, but James may have made the biggest mistake of the game late.
Yeah, he threw the ball straight to the other team, and usually coaches would tell you not to do that, and they took full advantage of it. And even then, you still had a chance to win if you could inbound the ball, box out. They just did all the little things wrong, and the Pacers just kept, creating opportunities for themselves to extend the game and ultimately won it at the buzzer, basically.
Pacers win it 120-119. Game 3 comes back to the Fieldhouse Friday night, James Boyd. That place is going to be rocking.
Yeah, I'll be there. We're taking shirt ideas for the show. Feel free to, let us know via social media what should be on it.
Let's do the diff.
It should be the diff. I said it should be overrate that. Someone else said it should be what the helly as far as like the song in reference to Halliburton. I don't know. Either way, we need something on those shirts to kind of commemorate the moments we're in right now, because it has been just incredible basketball, Kevin.
I still like yes, sir. That worked for me last night. Golden State gets a win on the road in Minnesota, 99-88. Jimmy Butler just continues to punk the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, I turned on the game, and again, I was reacting to a lot of the Pacers stuff, still stuck in the moment, reading everything I could, watching a bunch of videos, also seeing Kenny Atkinson complain about the aggression and the physicality at the end, not trying to hear any of that. And then you turn on that game, and the Timberwolves had 35 like the third quarter. They hadn't made a 3 yet. It was a horrible game. And then they lose Steph Curry to what seems like a hamstring injury, and they still lose. So that is a horrible loss. And I believe for the first time in NBA history in the second round, all, 4 or at least
4-0.
Yeah. There haven't been any home wins.
5-0 after
5-0
after last night.
Yeah, 6 straight road playoff wins. Also, if you go back to the Game 7 on Sunday. So
crazy.
First time in NBA history we've had that. We'll see about the Steph Curry hamstring. I hope that's not bad. He was limping pretty hard post-game. So a hell of an effort by Buddy Hield, Jimmy Butler and company there. A little ugly one. But, it has been quite the start here to the semifinal round. Tonight, obviously, we'll get back to Knicks Celtics and Thunder Nuggets.
Looking forward to that. By the way, Buddy Hield, that's twice now. 2 games in a row. He was the leading scorer for Golden State of all teams. That's pretty good stuff. You mentioned the games coming up a little bit later on tonight. Major League Baseball last night, the Cubs got beat up 14-5 by the San Francisco Giants. The Reds are they're on the struggle bus right now, Kevin. There's really no other way to say it. They can't score runs. They lost 2-1 in 10 last night to the Atlanta Braves.
I have no time for baseball on a day like today. I will briefly mention the NFL early this morning. Adam Schefter, I think, might have been the first one. George Pickens to the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. That deal being finalized, it sounds like, as we speak. I think the early parameters on that trade, a 3rd-round pick, maybe a swap of some late day 3 picks, but certainly one of the more talented yet not a blue character player. I don't know how I would describe George Pickens. At times I'm like, is he going to get tossed from this game? I feel like I'm watching the same George Pickens story every week. Pickens to the Cowboys, and we will see exactly what the compensation looks like, but that trade seemingly about to be finalized.
Kind of feels like Mike Tomlin has had his fill of
they got DK Metcalf, by the way,
wide receivers. Yeah.
We'll see. One of my buddies actually, he reported this because it happened. George Pickens showed up to a game once and came through the media entrance because he was late. So that tells you everything you need to know about George Pickens. Very talented player, but a bit of a
Mr.
head case
Pickens,
sometimes.
take your laptop
Yes.
out, please. We need to tag that.
If you're looking for a reason to skip work and play hooky today, Columbus Clippers and Indianapolis Indians 135 over at Victory Field. So that's what's happening in the world of sports. We'll continue to talk about Game 2 of the Eastern Conference second-round series. I don't know if you guys heard, but the Pacers are up 2-0 after winning 2 on the road in Cleveland over the last couple of days. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I don't know, we call it the shot heard around the Midwest, the shot heard around the NBA. What do you call that? Tyrese Halliburton clutch step back three for the win in Cleveland last night.
I want to get out of my chair, but I can't do that on camera, right? I call it stones. That's what I call it.
So did Ty afterwards. You see the little reaction there?
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
Nothing
I'm tempted.
little about that reaction.
No, nothing little about that shot or the moment or anything else. Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, Jeff, and Mark Dykton. And just, again, you go back through. A week ago, I was telling you the Milwaukee game, we all just kind of kept replaying it again, almost to make sure you saw what you saw, right? Like, this really happened, and this is how it happened.
Yeah.
And it was, if you're a Cleveland fan, did that whole thing happen in slow motion, the final 52 seconds of that game last night, Kevin?
Boy, I can't even imagine being a Cavs fan. Then you're like going to see a 2-minute report today and be like, oh, well, there's a lane violation. You're going to want to cry even more.
Yeah, talk about that elbow in that 2-minute.
Looking at that, Mark Dykton, played a great intro as always. And, he'll do that 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock coming up. And you just hear the silence when Merrill throws up the heave there at the end. And that just tells you everything you need to know. And really, I felt like at the start of the game at Cleveland, it felt like a morgue a bit in there. Just like, oh man, we're down 2 all-stars, we're down 3 of our more important players. Like, there's no way. And then, naturally, Donovan Mitchell spearheading all creates unbelievable life, and the arena starts, to get rocking, et cetera, et cetera. And as the Pacers started to chip away, and again, go back to Benedict Mathurin in that third quarter, go back to the Nesmith 3 to end the third quarter. What great execution. Mathurin whips that ball to Halliburton. Just a great play design by the Pacers. Halliburton finds Nesmith in the corner, bang, hits that 3 to end the third. It felt like from there, the Cleveland Cavaliers were you watching your son drive a vehicle right now. They were like, oh, my God, there is no way we're going to win. We're holding on for dear life. It was just, please somehow get to triple zeros with more points on the home team than the away. That's what it felt like to me watching it, just hearing and feeling, I guess, the atmosphere through the TV. And again, credit to Pacers for just constantly putting pressure on Cleveland. There is absolutely no give up, no fight. Yeah, you obviously need some things to go your way, but there is something to be said for a team that just doesn't let off the gas. They don't allow an easy inbound. They don't allow an easy rebound. And when you put all of that pressure on a wounded team, you give yourself a chance at a historic comeback. And certainly last night ranks right up there with any other.
And that word you use, Kevin, pressure, just continuously putting the pressure on. If you're the Cavs, you're getting tired. You're getting physically spent. You're exhausted. You're beat up. You're hobbling around. And this team, this Pacers team, James, they just won't go away.
No, they won't. And I want to give you some credit here, Jeff, because remember you asked me yesterday, hey, playoff coaching, does it really matter in the series? And Rick Carlisle will have the edge. And I kind of dismissed it. I was like, Kenny Atkinson, coach of the year, they should be fine. And I think that there are moments that he wishes he had back and probably wishes he would have maybe tapped into his bench a little bit more. I thought Ty Jerome played way too much, and I've joked about this, and I'm partly not joking. Ty Jerome was the best Pacers player for 3 quarters. He kept his team – he sabotaged his team last night. The shots constantly missing, being eaten alive on defense, all those things. But after the game, Jeff, hearing Kenny Atkinson say, we ran out of gas and, they were just – grabbing and holding and pulling us, basically insinuating they were getting fouled at the end, which is part of why they lost. I thought that was weak. From a head coach. And I've never heard Rick Carlisle go that route. Like 2 games in a row, basically, is saying like, oh, the physicality maybe wasn't always above board. And I'm thinking to myself, you blew that game because you had a player throw the ball to the wrong team. You had a player not box out twice. Aaron Nesmith obviously coming in. Halliburton getting the rebound and being able to go back out for the game-winning shot. There were moments in that where, like, those were coachable things. And your team, did not respond to that. So I don't want to hear that. I thought that was very weak, like very, very weak.
I thought the weakest part of Atkinson was shaking Carlisle's hand at the buzzer. I mean, if I'm a Cavs fan, I'm like, dude, we just blew.
He did that? I didn't catch that part. Wow.
He shakes his hand right there at midcourt as Merrill's getting ready to shoot the shot. If I'm a Cavs fan, I'm like, what the Come on, man.
Is that
even
the most
over.
March Madness?
Yeah.
That's a March Madness
Be
thing.
pissed. Storm off the floor. Be demonstrative. If you want to, bitch and moan about the refs, at least act like it at midcourt. I'm sure, Rick would say, oh, a very classy move from the opposing head coach. I mean, last night was simply a where were you when that happened moment. Where were you? I saw the shot from the Ale Emporium. Love that, of people celebrating. Saw a shot from upstairs in Bloomington. Kids probably celebrating because it's a Wednesday night in college, but maybe they're done with finals. Kind of a where were you moment. Did you turn off the TV? I know there are some of you out there that probably did that. Or, when the Siakam free throw, first missed free throw happened.
Oh my goodness.
Did you start to say, all right, let's get under the covers here. It was that type of moment. I said it to lead off the show, and I will say it a lot throughout this morning. It is your Gen Z 8 points in 9 seconds moment. I mean, it is exactly that. And I find it eerily fitting that it occurred as we sit here on this Wednesday morning. Today is the 30-year anniversary of that moment.
Wow.
It's different. There were multiple players involved in this. And if you remember correctly, the Pacers had Sam Mitchell fouled when they were tied. Reggie hits the back-to-back threes to tie it.
Yeah.
Sam Mitchell fouls, thinking they're still down.
And they're all like, huh?
And that's where you get the John Starks choke. That's where you get Reggie to the throat there when Starks, a 77% foul shooter, misses both those shots. And remember, Patrick Ewing actually got the offensive rebound in that moment to try and take the lead. He misses. Then they fouled Reggie on the offensive rebound, trying to get the offensive rebound. But last night was it, and it included multiple people. I'm shaking my head constantly because I cannot believe for a second straight week on this Wednesday morning we are talking about that type of comeback in the final 40 seconds.
Well, like I said, the Pacers now have a blueprint. This is how you get it done.
Yes, they need to play a lot better. Not turn the ball over. Obviously, respond to their physicality a lot sooner. I thought early on they got punched in the face and really just played uphill. And I think the term that Ricardo used after the game was, we weren't just swimming upstream. We were kind of going into a hurricane. And obviously they were able to prevail. But one of the things that kind of came to mind for me, obviously being 29, being a younger guy, and not seeing like the prime Reggie Miller years, to me, and you all feel free to tell me if I'm wrong, that had to be what Reggie Miller felt like, because I'm starting to get that feeling of like, man, if you give Tyrese the basketball with 5 seconds to go.
Did you think they were going to call timeout?
No, I didn't.
I don't like timeouts in those situations, to be honest.
Because if Ty missed that shot, people are bitching and moaning.
Yeah, I don't mind it, mainly because after he secured it, he brought it back up to the top. So I thought that kind of gave him a chance to kind of reset. Yep. Like if he got it and you're just immediately just throwing up a bad shot, then maybe I'm a little like, what are you doing? But again, because you didn't call timeout, you're able to take it back to the top, and one of your worst defenders is on Tyrese Halliburton,
right.
And he cooks him, hibachi.
I hate timeouts in those situations. I'll tell you why.
I love that. Can you say that again? Cook some hibachi.
Hibachi.
Yeah. You can feel the fire just light up. Someone just lit the onion.
So I hate taking timeouts in those situations. I'll tell you why. These guys, we talk about NBA practices, what they practice on. Their offense is kind of their offense. It'll change a little bit over the course of the season, but it is pretty much what it is. But they practice those end-of-game situations over and over and over throughout the entire year. If this is a situation, this is what we're going to do. The fact that he took that rebound and went right back out to reset and not try to force up a game-tying shot in the lane there, I thought was fantastic. All a timeout does, in my opinion, in most cases in that situation is gives the defense a chance to really reset. I'd rather have the defense scrambling and trying to figure out what we're doing when we've gone over this in practice again and again and again. And clearly, the other thing, and I love this about Tyrese, he's taken it upon his shoulders now. This is my game. I'm going to win it or lose it right here. But I like the way he did it methodically. He went back out. He set up. He did that thing where he goes to dribble in, and then he steps back. He creates the space. Boom, he's done. We've seen that do that. Maybe not as big a moment, but we've seen him with that play many, many times this season.
Yeah, I certainly agree with a lot of that. We've asked Rick that specific question about taking timeouts late in games under similar situations. And Rick, I think, has said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I think he said he's more of a fan of letting it play out. Particularly, I think you guys have laid it out there. I mean, the guy that you want have the ball has the ball. James, you pointed out very accurately, you had just cooked Jerome to the basket.
Yep.
a couple of possessions earlier. So I think at that point, Jerome's sitting back, even though they're up 2.
Yeah.
He's sitting back thinking, oh boy, I can't get cooked again, even though, you're thinking, well, you got Jared Allen at the rim.
Yeah. It's also just poor defense, Kevin. You have to force him to drive.
Certainly. And once I felt like once kind of Tyrese got that first kind of stutter dribble, I was just waiting for the pull up. I was like, is it going to be right at the buzzer? When exactly will it be? And again, I think there's something very special about Tyrese Halliburton on a night where I felt like we hardly felt Siakam all night long. I felt like we really didn't feel Halliburton all night long. Right. I thought we were going to sit here on this Wednesday morning and be like, boys, you need your all-stars to give you more.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of where I was thinking, and I don't know, maybe it's a conversation for tomorrow or Friday as we shift gears to Game 3. But on a night where he is not his typical self, and on a night where he gets banged up, and I don't know how much that injury brought Nembhard on the ball, but they were letting Nembhard run the show.
Yeah.
Really, for long stretches of that game. And yes, Max Strus, I thought, did a nice job of face guard and Ty for long stretches of that game. But, injury-wise, where was he at for a pass-first point guard to want the ball in that moment? And he has always wanted it in that moment. Like, ever since he put on a Pacers uniform, I've always felt like Tyrese wants to be that guy in that very moment. And, this is not a 5-star recruit at Iowa State. This is not a dude that had a bunch of game winners in the NCAA tournament or even got Iowa State to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the Sacramento experience didn't go well for him. For him to be that thriving in these end-of-game sequences is such a special attribute that he has. Hell, guys, he had just missed the free throw.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to miss that free throw.
Right.
He had just missed the free throw and yet had no fear to obviously want the ball and that step back. And we can't talk about that shot. Again, I know we've given Neesmith plenty of flowers and we will continue to do so. But Turner batting that ball. I mean, Miles Turner and rebounding has been, certainly ridiculed over his 10-year career with the Pacers. But on a play where Cleveland was clearly tired, and with Kenny Atkinson having no timeouts, he left his foul shooters on the floor instead of his rebounders on the floor for Turner to bat that ball. If Turner doesn't bat it, Cleveland's walking the other way, shooting some sort of foul shots with pretty good foul shooters on the floor. And it could be a totally different situation.
And I'm glad that happened, too, because for much of the game, when you talk about keeping balls alive and batting it to your own team, especially in that third quarter when they got up again 20, it felt like every loose ball opportunity on a rebound, Cleveland was just batting the ball back to a guy waiting back for the ball at the midcourt. They did that probably 5-6 times. I saw that.
Yeah,
night.
I mean, just an incredible moment from Miles. And he actually put out a tweet last night. I believe my buddy Zach Pearson put it out there first, and then Miles reacted to it. But it was the side-by-side shots of LeBron in 2018, I believe, hitting the game winner on the Pacers in the playoffs.
Oh,
and then this one, and then this one, Tyrese top of the key. So it's
Young, I can see it right now.
Full circle, the sun will shine again, and this is the Pacers moment. So, I don't know if I believe in the sports gods. I've talked to you all about how, I believe in God, love Jesus, but I think he's the biggest bandwagon fan ever. He can switch jerseys pretty quickly. However, it feels like the Pacers have been due for some of these moments just because of what they've been through as a franchise, and obviously the heartbreak on other series and teams they ran up against. And it's not over yet. Obviously, you want to continue to, climb and build wins, and obviously you want to put a stranglehold in this series by going up 3-0 Friday. But it was really cool to see Miles involved in that play because he's seen every version of this team over the last decade, and he's dealt with all the criticism, the trade rumors and things like that. But every time you think you can get rid of him or maybe he isn't really worth it or whatever, he does stuff like that. It makes you think, man, is the grass greener without him? I don't necessarily think that.
Did you just call Jesus Drake?
Wow.
Did I?
Well, he's making the next logical step.
Isn't Drake just showing up courtside of whoever's winning?
This is true. I remember Drake was in a Kentucky warm-up in air balls, and I was like, why are you in this line? So maybe, but I'll give my man Jesus a little bit more credit than that.
Listener Isaac tweeted at me at the start of the show, said, can't wait to listen on the drive back from Cleveland. So I believe Isaac is currently in the car. Isaac, I tweeted back at you. You're probably driving 10-2. If you can somehow, give us a ring. I would love to hear what that felt like to be in that building last night, cheering for the visiting team. Once again, Aaron Neesmith. If you look at the final minute, as soon as Siakam misses that second free throw, again, Siakam misses 2 free throws. Like 119, 112. Here's your all-star at the line. You're thinking this is kind of your last hope. This is like the Nembhard shot last Wednesday. If Nembhard misses the 3 from the logo, it's over. If Siakam misses those 2 free throws, Cleveland rebounds it and goes at the other end and makes 1 or 2, it's probably over. And for Nesmith to have the wherewithal to attack the rim, I mean, Mitchell is pulling at his jersey as soon as Nesmith takes that first step. For Nesmith to get the putback, should have been an and one. Then he initiates the turnover. I was actually okay with him not calling it a flagrant because, to me, I feel like that gets called a flagrant way too often in that situation. But nonetheless, he forces that turnover. Then it won't show up in the box score. But on the next inbounds, he is hounding Sam Merrill so much that they have to take their last time out. That is a huge play. Therefore, they obviously don't have timeouts to inbound it then in the final 30 seconds, and they didn't have timeouts to play the sub game. If they wanted to, with a timeout there, they could have put rebounders on the floor at the end there and then subbed in their foul shooters if they needed to. They didn't have that luxury either. So for Nesmith to do all of that, along with, was he your leading scorer last night? Him or Turner, probably.
He might have been. I think they both had 23.
Like all of those things he did, the corner 3 to end the third quarter, all of it. Like Halliburton, the shot, it will be played endlessly on SportsCenter. And I think in our market, we appreciate Aaron Nesmith for exactly who he is. That was such an unbelievable effort from him, in particular the final 40 seconds. Just absurd. Game ball, Aaron Nesmith. MVP of the Pacers playoffs so far, Aaron Nesmith. I won't hear any argument otherwise.
I'm not going to argue that either, but you look at that last 57 seconds. They force them to take their last timeout. They don't have that left. You talk about Strus just giving the ball back to the Pacers last night. The follow dunk by not boxing out Nesmith on those, and then not boxing out and letting the guy who missed the free throw get his own rebound. I mean, you start adding those things together, and the Pacers took advantage of every single instance in that final 57 seconds. Every single one.
I'll throw this out there right now. If we get the 2-minute report and they say, oh, this was a lane violation or this should have been, I don't care. They played harder than you did at the end, and they forced the action, and a lot of that was initiated by Aaron Nesmith. And then I do want to, not to harp on it too much. Probably we can get into it in tomorrow's show as we reset for Game 3. But for the Cavs, you got basically the worst version of Andrew Nembhard in the playoffs, and you still couldn't get a win. The guy looked, I was fully prepared to come in today and say, Pascal, where are you? Put the APB out. Andrew Nembhard, do you know how to dribble? Do you know how to pass? Like, these are things that you've done at a very high level. I get the missed shots. That's totally fine. But the 8 turnovers, I was like, man, this guy's having a really rough night. And it still didn't matter because the Pacers are just deeper and just more mentally tough than you were towards the end. And again, I'm not going to harp on it too much, but I don't really respect the whole Kenny Atkinson, my team was getting grabbed and held. Whatever. You were up 7 with 40 seconds to go. You got to figure out how to win that game, no matter what.
I thought he bitched and moaned way too much post-game there. And I don't think it's premature to say this. Did you see the announcement yesterday? Jeff, we're already probably scrambling a little bit here from a radio standpoint.
I did see this.
On May 25th. Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals would be on Sunday, May 25th. So for the third time in the last 20 years, we could be looking at Pacers and Racers. And yes, Game 3, if the Pacers were to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals, would be inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Knicks are the 3 seed. Celtics are the 2 seed. They both would obviously have home court. Either of them would have home court over the Pacers. So like Tony Kanaan in 2013, Buddy Rice in 2004, we would get it. Remember last year, the Boston game sandwiched Pacers and Racers on race day. Obviously, you hope for a little better result around that. But that is tracking. What do you think? 8 o'clock tip? 8:30? Would we be good here?
We would be good.
Coverage goes until about 7?
Assuming we don't have a long rain delay at the track.
No way. We got our one rain delay out of the way.
If it had to happen, obviously you get the simulcast of the race on WIBC and The Fan all day long. If there was a rain delay and it creeped over to, say, the 7:30 pregame, we would just start the Pacers pregame right here, and you could hear the rest of the post-race show over on WIBC.
I looked it up in 2013. That was the Heat, of course. Unfortunately, that was kind of an ugly one for the Pacers inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. That game tipped at 8:30.
Yeah.
that night. So that is obviously.
And I think they would try to put
pretty
as much.
late.
I think they would try to do that. Too.
Yeah, you would like to think TNT would be a good sport about that with Fox. But yes, Pacers and Racers, we would officially get that on race day in our own city if and maybe when the Pacers advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. Do we have Isaac?
Oh, the man himself.
Isaac, you were in the building last night, brother?
Hey. He dropped off. He probably went through a bad self. We'll get him on the other side so we can have plenty of time to talk to him in just a moment
the
here.
Angola connection wasn't very strong on the drive back. I have no idea if that's where you would drive through.
That was a Cleveland cell tower somewhere. But I wonder how many folks did make the trip over there to watch that.
If you did, it's a lifetime memory.
It is, man.
Sent a bunch of employees to game one.
Yeah.
So you got to love that.
I do love when they pan to the crowd at the start of the game, and there's Chad Buchanan and Ted Wu sitting like 12th row in the middle of the sea of maroon shirts. And I'm just dying. Like, I remember one time they showed Larry Bird in a full suit, sitting in the middle of like a purple out in Toronto. I'm like, that to me amazes me about the NBA is we cannot get these people that are like the GMs of these teams a suite for the games. They have to sit next to, 3 beer and 6 hot dog dude who's wearing the shirt the whole game.
I don't know if you've noticed the NBA lately, but a lot of these teams, they make big bucks off those suites in the playoffs.
I mean, I know, but can't you just get one for the visiting team?
Apparently not.
NFL does it.
120-119. The Pacers take a 2-0 advantage over the Cleveland Cavaliers in their Eastern Conference second-round series. Unlikely. For the second time in a week, they rally from 7 points down. Now, they needed a little more time last night, James. They had 57 seconds to get it done, as opposed to 34 against the Bucks. But happening twice in less than a week, it's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible to see. And it's getting to that point where I'm like, man, are these guys just built for these moments? And honestly, I should probably just stop questioning it and trust my eyes and what I've seen. They respond. And the cool thing about it is maybe they don't always win these close games, and certainly, you don't want to be in those situations over and over again, but they'll give themselves a chance, and at this stage of the season, that's all you can ask for.
All right, we'll talk more about it, take some of your phone calls at 239-1070, including those who were in Cleveland last night. We'll do it next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
any stealing of his property. We're damn good, too. But you can't be any geek off the street. Gotta be handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. Earn your keep.
Regulators, mount up.
Second one is short, and it's rebounded by Halliburton. The Pacers have a timeout. Will they use it? No, they don't. Yes, they do have a timeout. 4 seconds to go. Halliburton for three! Three ball! Up top! Indiana by one!
Carlisle's going to let him play. Halliburton steps back and hits.
1 and 1/10 seconds to go. Inbound. Merrill didn't get it off, and this rivals the Milwaukee finish.
Tyrese Halliburton trying to take Cleveland's heart. And it is over. The Indiana Pacers in a Game 2 stunner.
I had space and just trying to make a play. I think there were so many plays that led up to that moment that were so big. I mean, AA, Superman flew in, Michael Jordan from the top of the key with the tip dunk. We're going back home where we've had a lot of success over the last 2 years in the playoffs. I think you have to understand, being down 2-0, losing both on your home floor, they're going to come to play desperate. This is a team who they don't lose often. Coming in today, we expected a punch, and we were have to weather the storm. Well, they threw a big punch, there in the first quarter, and we weathered that storm. And so we got to be ready to expect that in the Game 3. It's a great thing about going home. We're going to get 2 days. Everybody take care of their body, get to sleep in their own bed a little bit, and play at home in front of the greatest fans in the NBA.
Sound like a broken record, but I don't believe what I just saw for a second straight Wednesday. Somewhere, Jack Buck, please say that for me. I just speechless. Here we are on this Wednesday morning talking about another historic comeback. And as I said to lead off the show, gentlemen, Gen Zers out there, 8 points, 9 seconds. Now you get to watch it in HD. Now you finally don't have to dial up the grainy YouTube film to it all. That was one that we will talk about, frankly, for the rest of our sporting lives, and I don't say that in any hyperbolic tone whatsoever.
Was that Nate Dogg and Warren G?
You know it.
All right.
Mount up.
I was like, regulators?
How about Mark changing up the intro?
I was going to say, that was beautiful, man.
Well, behind the curtain, we've had some computer issues today. So originally that was the intro song, the original intro, and I had to whip it up at the last second. So that is masterful what we were
right there.
Originally doing.
You are Aaron Neesmith.
Yep.
Mark
Right.
Dighton.
He's on his game. Hey, we had Isaac who went to the game last night in Cleveland. He's driving back to Indianapolis today and listening to us this morning, and he joins us next here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning, Isaac. Did you even get to sleep last night? I hope you're rested as you're driving back today.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I got a little bit of sleep. I'm finally breathing a little bit better. I just crossed that Ohio-Indiana line, and all is better. The sun is up. We're up 2-0, baby. It was a great time. I mean, where do we start? When we got into the game, I texted our local Westfield Degenerates group and said, hey, there's this somber feeling in the stadium, in the arena, because just right before the game, they announced that those 3 guys are out. And so it's like they knew what was coming. And then Mitchell he put on a show. He put on a show, and it was impressive. And it was a good time, man. But I tell you, I've never been to a funeral at 10 p.m. at night, but I think last night was about as close as we could get.
Absolutely epic. Isaac, thank you for the call. Thanks for the tweets this morning, man. We greatly appreciate it. What were you doing in the building? I want to start there. Like going to a road game in the playoffs, you're a psychotic fan, and God bless you for that. Why were you there? And then walk us through. He dropped out again?
Yeah, he dropped out.
Did Ohio PD cross the border?
Probably. They've got their little jamming equipment there.
Oh, how I hate the state of Ohio. Does that rhyme as well as the Ohio State hatred that I have here?
Isaac, call back if you're still here.
Isaac, give us a call back here because we want to make sure that we hear this. I'm always like, wait, what? You were there?
Yeah, no, that's...
Did you wear gold? Did you cheer? Do you go hands in the pockets? You got brass knuckles that,
I was going to say, as we said, I was telling you off
James
air.
Johnson grills in?
Yeah, how much can you celebrate before you get jumped, and when you're in the sea of enemies? But That had to be a lifetime experience for sure. Like,
and
come
I
on.
thought it felt, he mentioned like it felt like a morgue at the start. Like it felt that way. Hoping it and believe it. All right, Isaac, I don't know how much you heard there, but why were you in the building? And walk us through your reaction when the Halliburton shot goes in.
All right, so I got a college roommate that lives in Cleveland, and we said, hey, if the stars align and we match up in a series, I said I'll come up for the game, and it worked out. So took off at about 10 a.m. yesterday, quick trip, and back on the way home now. But, it's funny.
Did you wear yellow? Did you wear gold?
Man, I had the Reggie jersey on.
Oh, there we go.
Reggie jersey on, retro Pacer hat.
How fitting is that?
You got to represent. And so, there in Cleveland, maybe they don't know how to add. I don't know, but they have the diff posted on the scoreboard. And, I'm like continuously checking on it throughout the fourth quarter. I'm like, hey, man, up there on the scoreboard, it says 5 now. And now it says 4. And even at going into the fourth quarter, I think we were down by 11, or maybe it was at halftime. And how are we this close in the game? We're playing terrible. And it's like we blacked out there at that end of that game. I don't know. There was one other Pacer guy in our row. We were up top. We were up high. And he hit that shot, and him and I went nuts, and it was just silence. I mean, it was just silence, and it was cool, man. That's what – for a while, my buddy said, hey, I'm so sorry, like, you drove up here for this, like, this isn't what we wanted, and I just kind of sat there and rode the wave there, and hey, great drive this morning, though. It's been wonderful.
Isaac, you are an absolute legend, brother. Safe travels the rest of the way, and thank you very much for the call and for tuning in.
That's outstanding stuff. I've had the opportunity covering games and being at places a few times to hear an arena or a stadium go from completely hyped up
but to be a road
dead
fan,
silence.
To be a road fan's a different
fan?
animal.
Right.
I can't imagine
That's awesome.
what Isaac was feeling. So thank you for that call, Isaac.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's nothing when you are a fan on the road. That silence is the greatest sound ever, James Boyd.
Absolutely. And then, there's nothing to bring us down more than to talk to Stephen Holder at this point in time.
Wow, that was a hell of a welcome. That's on James Boyd. I'm happy to see you, Stephen.
I'll see him later today, and he'll give me some crap for that. But jokes aside, Stephen Holder joins us on the Pay Us Liquors hotline, and we'll start with the Pacers. I know you're watching that game. We're all in the group chat as well. You were there for, I believe, some of these crazy moments earlier in the playoffs from Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers. But to see it again, what was your reaction just in your household?
It's a career-defining moment for Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think you could overstate it. I mean, I think about my childhood, and now I'm opening the door for James to make fun of me for being old again. Okay, but I watched 8 points in 9 seconds live because I was a functioning human being at that point. You were, and you were in your mother's eyes at that point, but or a thought in her eyes. But yeah, I mean, it's a career-defining moment. It really is, and he'll have more. Right? He's very young, Tyrese, but for right now, I mean, most of America is going to remember what they saw last night when they think about Tyrese Halliburton. That is going to be the moment that comes to people's minds immediately when they see him, hear him, think about him. And I think you want it to be for reasons like that. You don't want it to be for coming up short in the moment. You want it to be for a moment like that. It says, when the brights were at their brightest, when the pressure was at its highest, you came through and you did something no one thought was possible. I mean, it's the closest thing to 8 points in 9 seconds we've seen. Maybe the closest thing we will see as people who follow the Pacers, because frankly, that's probably never happening again, right?
Didn't you say that a week ago?
I mean, what Reggie did is probably never happening again. I'm saying,
okay.
Right? But you're right though. But you're right. At the rate they're going, I don't know what the hell they're going to do next week. Right? This is incredible. I don't know. I don't know how you can not love this. These have been the best so far. This is the best NBA playoffs I've seen in a long time.
He is Stephen Holder joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Could you sense, I'm amazed the way it played out, but over the last 4 or 5 minutes, did it feel to you like Cleveland was just that stereotypical IndyCar trying to limp home on the last lap and get to the finish line. It kind of felt that way, didn't it?
I mean, all you had to do was look at Donovan Mitchell. I mean, he was wheezing and he was gassed. He was completely gassed, as he should be. Played a lot of minutes, clearly. He had the ball in his hand all night and wasn't just jacking up threes, right? He's going to the basket. He drew a lot of fouls. I think he shot, 21, 22 free throws. I mean, that is going to add up. I mean, that's not why they lost, but it contributed because here's what happened. At the end, you had a situation where the Pacers were the ones beating them to loose balls. The Pacers were the ones, making the defensive stops and showing the hustle plays. I don't know why it took that long, but I think it was desperation, frankly, earlier on the Cavs' part. But in the end, maybe the desperation flipped a little bit, and it was on the side of the Pacers, and so too was the energy and the ability to make those plays physically because they play more guys. They're deeper. They play more guys, and they were able to get it done in the end. So I don't know. I think that may be a combination of things, but there was definitely something to that.
Stephen Holder, ESPN with the Sierra Payless Liquors Hotline. Stephen, one more on the Pacers front. When you helped out and filled in for ESPN a couple weeks back on the Pacers beat, that was probably your first extensive look kind of media-wise at Indiana this season. I'm curious just like what your general observations were, whether it was listening to Carlisle, listening to Halliburton, listening to whoever, just when you walked in and we're kind of, immersed in that beat for a handful of days. What were your general impressions of that team and maybe how they're wired?
Well, I love the combination of Carlisle's seriousness and no wasted words, and then the other side of that being the loose nature of Halliburton and even Pascal to a degree, right? I mean, he's definitely a more serious guy, but he definitely fits in with the looseness of the team. I mean, you think about that roster. A lot of those guys, I think, fit well in the culture. And I'm not saying that's what determines success in the NBA primarily, but it matters a lot, I think, with this team because the construction of this team is why they're successful. A lot of teams are successful because, well, they got more talent than you got, and it just is what it is. But that's not the entire story with this team. It does feel like their culture and their chemistry is a big part of why this is happening. And frankly, maybe this ability to be so capable of meeting the moment, when these big pressure moments come, maybe that goes back to the fact that they are loose and they don't take themselves too seriously. I don't know. There could be some relationship there. I don't mean to get all I don't mean to do a psychoanalysis or anything, but I think it works for them. It definitely works for them. And Halliburton's a great example. I think sometimes we want our superstars to be all serious and to act like this isn't a game. Well, he gets it. It is a game, but don't play with him, okay? And he walks a fine line of being jokey and funny, but also like, hey, man, I'm not here to play around with you. I will slit your throat. And he's done it now multiple times.
Just incredible stuff. I mean, it was
such an apt description.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's so vivid, but that is really, that's a perfect way to describe him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the slit your throat reference at 8 o'clock in the morning, I think would get people's attention, So.
Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking.
Right. I don't need the second cup of coffee now after hearing that, but I think you're exactly right, frankly.
People tuning into Dexter this morning. I don't know.
Yeah, my editors and producers, they really encourage that kind of language when I'm on the air. So, yeah. That's
I was going to say, if you keep this up, you'll be on First Take here every day.
Or I'll be on the do not call list.
Oh my goodness!
Really, but anyhow, go ahead.
Holder, we'll pivot a little bit to the Colts. We know we have some availability today for some of the veterans. Rookie minicamp later this week. Going to rookie minicamp, what things are you kind of looking for or excited to see? Is it maybe just the first time you're seeing Tyler Warren on grass?
Well, yeah, I do think that I think back to rookie minicamps of past years and. Okay, granted, look, it's not necessarily the best indicator of what a guy is going to be, but when you walk out there and you watch them move around on the field, Tyler Warren should stand out. And I have no doubt that he will. But I mean, like, it should, if they took all the numbers off the jerseys and you didn't know who was who, that first round pick, particularly a guy who is someone who's going to have the ball in his hands, that guy should move different, look different, act different. It should be obvious. I think for him, it will be. I mean, how can he not be, right? Just from what we know of him and what we have seen in his history. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope to get that same vibe from Tyler Warren that I've gotten from other guys in the past. You know, I think about guys like even Leatu Latu, for example, right? I mean, they just move differently. And it should be obvious, and I think it will be. So that's one thing. I think even some of the later picks or subsequent picks, I am interested to look at JT. Oh my God, I'm gonna get his name right at some point. Yeah, Timmy. Timmy Moalau. Okay, so you are a broadcaster for sure, sir. You're doing just fine. I want to see a little bit of him. I think he's maybe not a guy that jumps off the screen athletically, because I don't think that's his game necessarily. He's not Leatu Latu, but let's see if we can get a sense of how he moves and his power and how he might fit in to this new defense. And we'll also today hear from the coordinators, and I do look forward to hearing from Lou Anarumo because I think he's very insightful and will give us some insight on the defensive guys they drafted in particular.
Steven, nothing against you, but I am looking forward to get back into the Pacers combo. But one more Colts question to throw your way. Any
Sure.
May signing you think this team is looking at, particular at guard or linebacker? Or do you think they kind of run through this offseason program, see what they got, and then potentially add a veteran for training camp?
I think you just made the point. I think that's probably the way they go. Even though they have had a somewhat busy offseason, they made some big moves, splashy moves. Chris Ballard still, I think, in his heart, leans toward, I want to develop the younger guys. And if there are spots where they think they can do that, i.e. linebacker, I think they feel that way. Whether they're right, we'll see. But it does seem that he feels that way. He's going to more than likely lean toward that path if he can. And I think no matter what he's done in any offseason, there's always been a position or two where he says, I want to develop the young guys. It's been defensive back here recently, in recent years. He's done it sometimes on the offensive line. Sometimes he's been right, sometimes he's been wrong, and I guess we will see.
Stephen Holder, always good to hear your voice. Thanks for spending time with us today. Have fun out at Colts camp today, and enjoy that Pacers run, my man.
All right, I'm going to go watch a bloodthirsty thriller.
I'm going to watch my throat at noon today when I see you over West 56th Street.
Stay on the other side of the room, Kevin. There he is. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen next for Stephen? All right, so Stephen Holder joining us there to talk about the Pacers, a 120-119 win over the Cavs. More on that right now, Mark, as we check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
119-112. 57 seconds remaining in the game when Donovan Mitchell hits a free throw. It's the last point Cleveland would score. And James Boyd, it sets off just a domino fall of events, every single one of those dominoes falling in the direction of the Indiana Pacers.
It was an all-time collapse by the Cavaliers and an all-time comeback by the Pacers.
Was that the last shot of the game for Cleveland?
The last shot would have been the desperation, I guess.
He didn't get it off.
I don't even think Merrill got it off.
Did he? And that would be.
And that is wild. And that was kind of like the Milwaukee game, too. When you think about it, it's not like these comebacks have had 4 missed free throws in the final 20 seconds.
Yeah.
They've just been inability to inbound the ball, Pacers turning it over,
taking timeouts when they didn't want to.
Extra possessions, all of it. We've mentioned a whole lot this morning. I want to make sure we do mention Benedict Mathurin again. I thought in that third quarter, you're down 20, you needed a jolt, and Mathurin does that. I mean, he had 2 fouls in the first half, and I thought Rick pulled the plug a little early on him in that first half. I thought, okay, 2 fouls, you don't treat him like you treat, maybe a starter that could get 6 if he's playing 40 minutes. You went back to Mathurin, obviously, in the second half. and that's a dude that we've seen it so often. He can microwave it up when he's had a poor half or a struggling half, and boy, did he microwave it up for you. I thought he was really, really important to injecting necessary life for when that starting group went back in the fourth quarter.
Cleveland wastes a 48-point, assist, 5-rebound effort from Donovan Mitchell, who injures his calf at the very end of the game with 12 seconds to go when Nesmith hits the incredible follow dunk. He was going up to contest it, Mitchell was. He came down awkwardly, and he looked really stiff and sore over the final few seconds of that game.
Yeah, he definitely looked that way, but I don't count Donovan Mitchell out at all. I know he'll be ready for Friday. Can the other guys bounce back mentally?
Yeah, and of course, at the very end, the step back three with 1.1 seconds to go by the man. That's all you can say, Tyrese Halliburton at this point in time.
He's a bad man. He's like the boogeyman out in Cleveland these days.
Can we have a camera on John Halliburton celebrating that? Can we somehow? Is there footage of him?
Oh, I'm sure.
I want to give John Halliburton permission to curse. I know he doesn't curse often, but after that type of shot, you can yell out, bleep, bleep, bleep,
I've got a plan
bleep.
for John Halliburton for Game 3. I might save that for tomorrow. But
Okay.
I've got a plan for him.
I saw one of the Cavaliers reporters said, Tyrese Halliburton has caused generational trauma for Cavs fans.
Gosh,
like,
so true.
that's accurate.
And he's 25. He's not going anywhere.
There's generational trauma for Cleveland sports fans through the decades.
I was going to say,
we'll
fair
go
enough.
over that
Yeah,
later.
fair
Eddie
enough.
White texted us earlier. The drive, the fumble, the rebound.
Oh, I got a whole list that we can do later on, too. Cleveland comes into the Fieldhouse Friday night, 7:30 tip, 7 o'clock airtime here on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan, 23 points to lead the way last night from Aaron Nesmith and Miles Turner. Bennett Mathurin had 19 points there in the win. Golden State knocked off Minnesota in Game 1 of their series, 99-88. And, James, the road team's just not losing here in the second round.
No, and obviously we talked a lot about the Pacers and what they've done to go up 2-0, but that was a horrible loss for the Timberwolves, especially considering that Steph Curry barely played. Pulled his hamstring, I believe, in the first half, and they still were able to get a win thanks to former Pacer Buddy Hield shooting lights out again.
Buddy and Tyrese, those two good friends, certainly, again, had some big nights last night. And, yes, 5-0 now in round 2, these road teams. Really looking forward to tonight. 2 epic games from these two series. On Monday, we'll get it again. Knicks, Celtics, Nuggets, Thunder here. Game 2's starting, 7:30? Is that the first game tonight?
That's the first game. Actually, 7 o'clock. Boston hosting the Knicks at 7 o'clock, and then the Nuggets and Thunder at 9:30. JJ going to join us top of the hour, 9 o'clock, Kevin.
Yes, Jeremiah Johnson going to join us. Just one other item of note, I would say, for relevance from an NFL standpoint. George Pickens to the Cowboys. Adam Schefter had that early this morning. I think I saw a third-round pick coming up in 2026, maybe like a day 3 swap a little bit later. But George Pickens, who certainly is quite the talent and also has quite the attitude. Some volatile moments with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Off to Dallas.
Get your damn act together.
And remember, Pittsburgh did trade for DK Metcalf earlier in the offseason, so it remains to be seen who will be throwing DK Metcalf the ball. But certainly some news out of the AFC on this Wednesday morning.
CeeDee Lamb and Pickens. That could be trouble for some NFC East teams right there. It'll be interesting to watch out. All right, coming up in a minute, we'll continue to talk about the Pacers' Game 2 victory in Cleveland last night. It's the Fan Morning Show with James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton, doing a great job back there in the ones and twos. I'm Jeff Rickard. We'll continue in a minute.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Everybody getting in on the act. Our very own Sean Matthews, who does our great production work, up and early this morning, putting together his little recap of what happened last night. And what happened last night, I'd say you just don't see that happen, except we saw it happen a week ago against Milwaukee, Kevin. It's just amazing how this team just keeps coming and coming and coming, and they don't let up, and they wear teams down. I read an article this morning, somebody at Athletic called them, they're like Novocaine. Eventually, they're just going to wear you down.
Yeah, they don't allow you to play four corners. They don't allow you to take kneel downs. They don't allow you to run out the clock and hope and pray triple zeros happen. Teams in the NBA, and I'm not going to act like in the playoffs it often happens, but there's a little bit of all right, here's our give-up factor. Yeah, here you go. We're just going to throw the white flag here. Empty the bench. The Pacers are just not wired in that manner. And I don't think there's an individual that spearheads it more than Nesmith. I just think he is the igniter of it all. And if you watch, guys, it's 119-112. Siakam misses the first free throw. How many dudes would act like that second free throw is going to be missed to the point where Nesmith is sprinting in from the top of the key? And if you go back and watch that,
there's two guys coming, right?
Replay. Donovan Mitchell's tugging at his jersey right away. He's like, oh, bleep. He very quickly realizes what Nesmith is trying to do. I guess, weirdly, good for the Pacers that Siakam missed the free throw, and Nesmith just absolutely dunks on, which, I guess Mitchell kind of dunked on Siakam earlier in the game, and Nesmith dunks with a flailing Mitchell underneath him there. And that play started it all. Because if you think of just what Nesmith did after that, he then forces the turnover on Mitchell that was reviewed to be a flagrant. And I know I've brought this up quite a few times, but I think the play was so critical, I want to continue to harp on it. His defense on Sam Merrill to force the last Cleveland timeout was absolutely massive. I know it doesn't show up in the box score as anything, but think about Cleveland the final 20 seconds without the timeout. They couldn't challenge the Mitchell play on Halliburton. I thought Halliburton, frankly, just lost the ball when he got whistled for that foul. I thought that could have gone either way. Who knows in a review how that goes? But Atkinson doesn't even have the opportunity to challenge it. He doesn't have the opportunity to sub in rebounders. He could have done that and then put his foul shooters back in had they secured.
And they're all gassed.
The rebound. Yes, everyone is gassed. And then they couldn't advance it after the Halliburton three. Think about that. That goes through the hoop with what, 1.1 or 1.5, something like that. 1.1. You advance it there, and who knows? Mitchell could throw something up, or maybe they get an Allen tip at the rim, something along those lines. So those plays from Nesmith, obviously the dunk is the highlight. Certainly they're going to show the turnover by Mitchell as well. But that defense on Merrill, him face guarding, that's who they wanted to get the ball to, and Merrill is a great shooter. I forget who was inbounding it, Jerome or Strus, somebody like that. When they take that final timeout, I thought that was another just massive, massive play from the best contract in the entire NBA, Aaron Nesmith.
Gotta love it. Let's go to the phone lines, 239-1070. Listen to a few fans' reactions this morning as we continue through the morning show here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. John, you're first up on this segment this morning.
Is this
go
John
ahead, my man. Yeah, I wish it's John Halliburton.
Oh, okay.
We like the John that we have.
Oh, okay.
We like the John that we have. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, not John Halliburton, but hey, I'll tell you what, if I got to describe his team with one word, it's resilient. And I've got a stat for you guys, and this tells it. Since I graduated in 1998, there's only been 3 teams out of 1,064 that has come back from 7 down with 1 minute to go in the playoffs, and the Pacers own 2 of those this season. What do you think about that?
Jeez.
It's called branding. That's the brand of the Pacers now.
John, thank you for the call. Yeah, it is.
That's outstanding.
To John's point, were the 2 the last week? Seriously? Yes. That's incredible stuff. And, I got a kick out of Halliburton saying, it's the NBA, crazier things have happened. And I'm like, no, crazier things have not happened. What you're doing is uncharted territory for being clutch, being a little bit lucky. And I say lucky in respect to everything the Pacers have done. But when you got a guy like Max Strus throws the ball straight to your teammate and Andrew Nembhard, that is luck. I don't know if that's sabotaging or whatever it is for the Cavaliers, but you need a little luck in those moments like that, and it gives just crazy unforgettable comebacks for John and others to enjoy.
I'll tell you what, I'm happy to be coming home 2-0 and a chance to just get a 3-0 lead. But if you're Cleveland, man, how happy are you that you get 3 days between now and Friday, Kev?
Well, I don't know if I can commit to happy in Cleveland in the same sentence right now. I think you need a 24-hour coping period after that.
Did you see Max Strus after the game? Like, did you see his interview?
He was devastated.
He looked like someone had killed his dog.
Devastated.
He looked horrible.
And I thought Strus played outstanding. I know he had the late turnover, but I thought Strus was huge on both ends of the floor. I thought he hit the dagger, the right wing three there, somewhat late. I thought that was the dagger, and of course I'm an idiot. I should have been like, Kevin, do you follow the Pacers? Have you seen how they put pressure on you for the entire 48 minutes? Mark, I'd like for the caller to call in who wanted all the starters benched for game 2.
See if he wants a mea culpa.
Can you call him?
He's
do we have that number?
I think you commit to the bit. You got to say, well, now you got to bench him for game 3 because they're up 2-0.
Keep on going there.
Yeah.
Think about this though, for the devastation for the Cavs on a night at home. I know you don't have a couple of your regular players, but Mitchell goes for 48. Strus couldn't miss for a while there. He goes for 23. Jarrett Allen was terrific last night, 22 points and 12 rebounds until the very end of the game. All that going on. You had multiple 20-point leads, and you lose the game, James Boyd.
Just sickening. I mean, there is no other way to describe it. I don't even know what you say to your team. If you're Kenny Atkinson, you walk in the locker room, what do you say?
He said we outplayed him, is what he said a couple of times in
I ain't trying to hear none of that.
Maybe bitch and moan about the officiating.
Yeah, they were holding and grabbing us. Don't care. I've said this before. Where is your dog factor? Where is it? Because Aaron Neesmith had some. So why aren't your other guys challenging that and bringing some of that to the table? If other guys are hitting you, hit back. Well, what? You did it early in the game?
I think they certainly did hit early. I mean, it's just wild on a night where that might have been the worst first quarter I've seen the Pacers play all season.
It was. I think Mark Boyle has a terrific clip we'll play later on about that.
I mean, that was bleeding eyes watching the Pacers play in the first quarter last night. And, again, it took a while. Guys, they were still down 30 midway through still down 20 midway through the third. Like, it took a while to get going. Obviously, Mathurin was outstanding there in the third quarter. Again, another play that I think is just a sneaky play that shouldn't be forgotten at all was the crispness of that end of quarter 3. For the second straight game, you have hit a end of third quarter 3, and I just think that can be so deflating on the road when a team does that. It was, if I have it right, I believe it was Mathurin to a sprinting Halliburton down the middle of the floor. I thought the Mathurin pass was great in stride to Halliburton. Halliburton doesn't have to break stride at all. He finds Neesmith in the corner. Boom. 17 becomes 14. And more than that number, like, okay, what's the difference between 17 and 14? More than that, I just think all of a sudden it got the Pacers bench going here. And it got the Cleveland fans saying, oh, bleep. And, Jeff, I made the analogy earlier,
go again.
And I'm going to go back to the analogy again. It's like you watching your son learn how to drive a car right now. For the final 12 minutes, they're sitting there grabbing both armrests. Like, oh, my gosh, can it just get to triple zeros? Can it just somehow, some way get to be where we have more points? Because if we're sitting here right now talking 1-1, and Cleveland's got an extra day, and who knows what it'll look like. Atkinson said post-game, maybe we'll get one or two guys back for Friday. I mean, those are two all-stars in street clothes last night, in Garland and Mobley. And that I'm not even talking about Hunter. And all of a sudden, if you get that, if you look at Cleveland's first 2 games, these are 2 of the worst three-point shooting nights of the entire season for them. Like, if it's 1-1, and they have just gone through 2 games like that, and water finds its level, them shooting the 3-ball, to me, it's a whole different series. Whereas right now, I'm like, gosh, I think the Pacers are going to sweep.
Well, let's just take care of one game at a time. In the meantime, let's go 239-1070. Terry up next here on the Fan Morning Show. Good morning, Terry. How fired up are you this morning?
I'm pretty fired up there, Jeff. Hey, I wanted to tell you that whatever it took to get you back in that chair, congratulations. It's nice to have you back, and you're doing a great job.
A lot of bosses switching things around the country, but I'm happy to be home. I'll tell you that.
Oh, good deal. You sound happy. So, hey, you may have mentioned it. I heard it on the dreaded flagship station before you guys started. A stat that was very interesting. Maybe you've already said it. In all of NBA history, teams trailing by 7 points with a minute to play are 4 and over 1,100. So in all of history, 4 times has a team won a playoff game trailing by 7 with a minute to play. The Pacers own 2 of those games.
That's just insane. And then if you go back to the Reggie moment, too, it's 3 of the greatest comebacks in the history of NBA playoff basketball.
It's the Gen Z 8 points in 9 seconds. It is and it's different. It's not the Knicks. Reggie does a choke sign, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to act like it's exactly apples to apples, but I think it's the closest thing that 30 years and younger has seen to it and probably will see for a while. I know we joke with Stephen Holder, just wait till next week. Halliburton will probably do 8 points in 10 seconds, and all of a sudden that'll be what we're talking about next Wednesday. Could there be a game on Tuesday? I think there could be a game on Tuesday. Can you imagine if we're doing this for 3 straight Wednesdays? But yes, it's utterly insane. I used a cuss word on Twitter last night to describe it. In bleeping sane is how I described it.
You're such a bad boy.
I can't say that on air, so Mark Dykton, no need to press the dump button. I will resist that. But that's how I really look at last night.
Can I do Tyrese Halliburton celebration on air or on camera?
I think if you turn the camera off, I think you're good.
Okay.
You can do that.
I'm tempted.
I've seen you do that in the basement here.
I mean, I'm ready to go down there after the show and reenact this.
Tyrese needed a wheelbarrow to get off the court at the end of the game last night.
I mean, those Cavs fans just look so heartbroken. They got some incredible photos of Tyrese doing the celebration. And if you one of my favorite things to do is zoom in on the reaction of the fans.
So good.
And they're just all in shock. And again, the thing that I want to kind of drive home here, and feel free to chime in, this is only Tyrese's second playoff run. Like, think of how many moments he's had already through 20 games? Like, that is incredible stuff. Donovan Mitchell has been in the playoffs, I believe, every year of his career. And he's like 7 or 8 years deep now, where again, Tyrese, you're growing up into these moments. You're supposed to be figuring it out, and you're already sort of there when it comes to just having the, I can't say that word, but the stones to go up there and play the way, that you have, and also to just not be afraid. And the coolest thing about it is, I think Rick Carlisle hit it, and it kind of gives you a sobering thought where, yes, we celebrate the moments where he's been successful and all that, but it's just being unafraid to even just put yourself in those shoes. Like, there are certain guys, you remember them, they made some shots, and everything's great when it's going great, but he's made some really big key plays in these games where he hasn't had the best overall game. Like, I wouldn't say yesterday's game was like a Halliburton classic where he just did everything.
No, not at all.
And it set up this thing. It was him kind of finding his way and then eventually breaking through.
We sometimes get from Bill Rafferty onions, and I think we sometimes get from Bill Rafferty double onions. And I think last night was indeed that very moment. I want to expand on that more, James, after the break.
We'll do that. I think you could probably call that triple onions with the 3, right? Last night? That's what's going on there. It's Fan Morning Show.
If you've got triple onions, though.
He just goes everywhere all the time. You're consistent. I love that. All right. Coming up in a minute, we continue to talk about the Pacers' victory last night in Game 2. Game 3 coming up on Friday here on The Fan. Details as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I think you just made James Boyd's day, maybe his week.
Is this under my login, Mark Dykton? You've somehow searched this song?
Well, it's just AC/DC. That'll be all right.
This was played quite frequently on the radio back in the day.
This is a Hall of Fame performance right now. This is Willis Reed.
Was this going through Halliburton's head last night when Sam Casselled one up?
Oh, man, you got to love it. A 119-112 deficit with 57 seconds to go turns into a 120-119 win for the Indiana Pacers in Cleveland last night, JB.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the intro song for that break. Like, that is...
He's going to be playing that on loop
the listeners
all day.
No, I will not be. Give listeners some context here. Mark's having some computer issues, and to pull that out of the hat, again, Willis Reed right there. But to get back to Jeff's point, while I'm hopefully not playing that song too much more in the rest of the day, just incredible stuff. I thought that, in a way, we haven't talked about it much, and we can get into it a lot more in tomorrow's show because today is you kind of just riding high. That game sort of saved Pascal Siakam. He hasn't shown up these first two games, in my opinion, enough. The first game was okay. Last night, he was pretty bad.
Without Mobley.
Yes.
Which I think is worth pointing out as well.
He was rough. I mean, the two missed free throws, Aaron Nesmith comes in, dunks it, so you get those 2 points back. And then obviously Tyrese with the hero cape kind of saves the day, but he needs to be much, much better for this team, for them to go out there and win Game 3 and Game 4, obviously, at home.
Yeah, I think I'll probably go with you, James, and probably wait a little bit more for tomorrow or Friday to kind of shift gears to Game 3. I wanted to go back to the point, and by the way, Jeremiah Johnson going to join us here in less than 10 minutes. The point you made just before the break, in Halliburton's wanting of those moments. Like, when you think back to his basketball life, he's been, and he will tell you, I am a pass-first point guard. And he wasn't this 5-star recruit. He didn't have a lot of winning moments at Iowa State. He jokes about it, half jokingly, half serious. He's like, guys, I haven't really won in my career until really the last couple of years. He didn't win that much at Iowa State. He didn't win in Sacramento. Yeah. And again, he half jokingly is half serious. He rags on himself for that. And yet when these end-of-game situations happen, he always wants the ball, and more often than not, he always wants to shoot the ball. Like, it's not more of a, hey, I'm driving and I'm going to make the right basketball play, and I'm going to find whatever, Turner in the corner or Nesmith in the corner. No. He's wanting that moment to be the one that takes the shot. And I thought last night was very, very fitting. He had a game that I wouldn't call a very vintage Tyrese Halliburton game. I don't think it was on the Siakam level, but I don't think I had really kind of felt Halliburton in that game as much as you typically do. And guys, he had just missed the free throw. And yet, does he look towards the bench for a timeout? Absolutely not. He sees Jerome on him, and I think as soon as he saw Jerome sagging off a little bit, he thought to himself, what's my go-to? My go-to is a step back. And boom, top of the key, step back on a night where, again, he really didn't have the all-NBA type of night. He wants the ball, and then he hits the shot. That's a star. That is a star player. That is exactly why people talk about him in the same sentence with Reggie Miller, and I don't laugh at it. I mean, it's a rare trait. It's a rare ability that he has to be such a willing passer of the basketball, yet when these situations arise, he says, give me the damn ball and watch.
And he's doing it repeatedly. Our good friend Kristen Aries sent us something after the game last night. That's 7 times in the last 2 years now, either regular season or the postseason, where he has delivered big in the final few seconds of a clutch game. 7 different times in 2 years, and that's 3 in the playoffs over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I believe the way the NBA defines like clutch time is if it's within 5 minutes and then also within 5 points in those 5 minutes to close out the game. So, again, he's just showing up time and time again and growing up right before our eyes. And, last night, late actually, I got a notification, as we all do, but this one was for the first day Tyrese Halliburton got traded to the Pacers, the first day he arrived, and I was there for that. And, listening back to that, I was like, wow. One, he looks, a little bit younger, and he's saying, yeah, man, I gave my heart to Sacramento, and, the Pacers took a chance on me. I'm going to give them everything that I have. And I'm like, wow, 2+ years later, what are we witnessing? Like, how cool is it to kind of see you one, embrace a new city, but two, build a legacy here at this point because there is no way you're ever leaving. You know what I mean? And obviously, I might be getting a little ahead of myself because sports get weird, but right now today, is there anybody more beloved than that guy in the city? He could run for mayor and win.
Yeah, the only other person.
He almost made people just turn off 465, hit the guardrails there, saying he's not leaving. Oh, boy, he's giving some PTSD to some people.
I know, but he ain't giving them a reason to. I'll say that.
We should a little update on the left wrist. He mentioned sore after the game. Again, X-ray at halftime. Didn't sound like there was anything off of that X-ray result-wise just yet. Obviously, that'll be something to keep an eye on. I felt like, obviously we all saw a little bit more tape on that left wrist, again, non-shooting wrist. It did seem like a few times when he fell to the ground, it maybe took an extra second or two to get back up, like not
and
just,
he was flexing the hand a lot,
not bracing himself with the left hand, left wrist. So certainly something to keep an eye on heading into Friday.
Maybe the person who is as popular as him in the city, Caitlin Clark. Did you see her on Twitter last night at that moment?
Yeah, she's hit a number of shots in her career, and I'm sure she'll be having similar moments at Gainbridge Fieldhouse this summer. But, yeah, she gave Ty a shout-out, and it's really cool. Like I said yesterday, I think the Pacers and the Fever have the best NBA, WNBA tandem when it comes to point guards, and I would honestly challenge anybody who wants to argue that.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch in the rest of these playoffs and in the Fever season. You'll hear it all right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. The great Jeremiah Johnson. Do you think he wears a sports coat like early in the morning at 9 o'clock? Like he just wakes up, makes breakfast, and puts a nice sports coat on?
I like to think he has sports jacket pajamas.
I think he does.
He's always dapper, I'll say that, and I'm sure he enjoyed last night's game. We're looking forward to talking to him next.
All right, here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We regulate any stealing of his property. We're damn good, too. But you can't be any geek off the street. Gotta be handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. Earn your keep.
Regulators, mount up. Second one is short, and it's rebounded by Halliburton. The Pacers have a timeout. Will they use it? No, they don't. Yes, they do have a timeout. 4 seconds to go. Halliburton for three. Three ball up top. Indiana by one.
Carlisle's going to let him play. Halliburton steps back and hits.
1 1/10 seconds to go. Inbound. Merrill didn't get it off, and this rivals the Milwaukee finish.
Tyrese Halliburton trying to take Cleveland's heart. And it is over. The Indiana Pacers in a Game 2 stunner.
I had space and just trying to make a play. You know, I think there were so many plays that led up to that moment that were so big. I mean, AA, Superman flew in, Michael Jordan from the top of the key with the tip dunk. We're going back home where we've had a lot of success over the last 2 years in the playoffs. I think you have to understand, being down 2-0, losing both on your home floor, they're going to come to play desperate. You know, this is a team who they don't lose often. Coming in today, we expected a punch, and we were have to weather the storm. Well, they threw a big punch, you know, there in the first quarter, and we weathered that storm. And so we got to be ready to expect that in the Game 3. You know, it's the great thing about going home. We're going to get 2 days. You know, everybody take care of their body, get to sleep in their own bed a little bit, and play at home in front of the greatest fans in the NBA.
Does everything right, Tyrese Halliburton. Wins games at the end, says the right things, has the right mindset, and the Indiana Pacers lead the Cleveland Cavaliers 2-0 in their best-of-7 second-round series in the Eastern Conference. And as he mentioned, Game 3, Kevin Bowen, coming back to the Fieldhouse for a Friday night. Call it anything you want to. It's going to be fun on Friday. That's what I know.
Cannot wait to talk to our next guest. Mark Dykton on the phone lines, correct? He is the pride of Peru, the pride of Zionsville, the one, the only Jeremiah Johnson. JJ, that city jacket you rocked at Pacers practice last Friday, please tell me you got that on today, drop-off line. I know it's a bit warmer, but that thing was crisp.
I don't have that one on. I do have another travel warm-up that I usually wear at times, but inject that open into my veins, Mark Dykton. Warren G, Regulators, and splash back to 1995 playing 3-on-3 at Thaddeus Reed's house on an 8.5-foot goal, then going to watch Pacers playoff games, and I couldn't help but think about some of those Reggie Miller moments when watching last night. I mean, it was so similar, and as you said, Tyrese Halliburton does and says all the right things, and I can't wait for Friday night.
Well, JJ, speaking of 95, you know what today is, right?
Yeah, 8 points, 9 seconds anniversary. So 30
years ago today, 8 points and 9 seconds. I guess parallels there, JJ, to start. I like, to me, last night's the closest thing since that moment. I don't know if you go a little further. Like, I mean, the Knicks' hatred was real. Reggie Starks, Spike, you know, Rick Smits had fouled out. Antonio, I think, had gotten ejected, if I remember correctly. It's not exactly apples to apples, but I've been saying it all morning long. This is your Gen Z 8 points in 9 seconds.
It is. And then the best wins are the ones where maybe they're not expected. And I would even take it a step further that when you make a moment or have a shot or a situation like that on the road, it has a galvanizing effect. And so, of course, part of what made 8 points in 9 seconds so special is you did it in Madison Square Garden. You quieted the crowd. You shocked the world, so to speak. And while there were some, great Reggie Miller moments at Market Square Arena and then on at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the ones that really stick with you are the ones in hostile territory. And that's what Tyrese Halliburton did last night, and that's what the Pacers did. And if you weren't a fan of the team or at least aware of what they've accomplished of late, you might have turned the channel or you might have given up. But, I mean, I was ready. I think I started to tweet it with about a minute left. Stop, score, that's all you need, don't foul. And then they fouled right away. And so I think Pascal Siakam was called for a foul. So had to leave that one in the drafts like a few of the other posts I was getting ready to send in the fourth quarter. But again, they've been able to overcome these deficits. They've been able to stay with it. They've been able to defend the inbounds passes as well as anyone I've seen in the NBA in quite some time. So you know they're never out of it, and there is a calming effect when Tyrese Halliburton has the ball in his hands and he's dribbling around late in the game. How many times have we seen it over the last 2.5 to 3 seasons? It's just remarkable. And it again, you can be a prisoner of the moment a little bit, but I think it's very accurate. It is Reggie Miller-esque, and I can't wait to see the next chapter.
JJ, I'll go here. Obviously, you want to be in those moments and have an opportunity to work them and do the interviews and things like that. But when you don't have that opportunity and you're just watching from home or wherever you are, do you allow yourself to just be a fan and fully lose the professionalism? Like, did you jump off the couch? Did you let a curse word out? Like, what was your reaction to the shot?
Hell yeah, he did. There's no way he was quiet.
I'm not saying quiet, but I'm like, are you less subdued?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't have any professional responsibilities, so I had no reason to hold it in any way. And I had my sons in the basement, and my oldest threw the pillow to the floor when Tyrese Halliburton attacked the basket because he said, "We needed 3." And I was like, well, 11 seconds, 12 seconds. You still have time. You make these free throws, and maybe you get another steal because that's what this team does so well. But again, I do wish there was a camera on me. I've had some people send some videos. If anyone else has footage where maybe their significant other recorded them watching the game and had those reactions, we probably could put a nice montage together because there was some hugs, there was some screaming, there was some, can you believe it? And then, my oldest starts getting FaceTime calls from all of his friends as they had the same reaction. And I just love that because this is a new generation of Pacers fans that are getting to experience what we experienced in that era. So lucky to have grown up in Indiana and seen and been a fan during a lot of those moments. And now I'm extremely blessed to be able to cover the team. But it wasn't too bad for one night to be able to just sit on the couch and let out a scream. I would say that when you're not working, it's a little easier to get frustrated with officiating. So that's probably the biggest problem is I want to tweet a little bit more, and then I have to remember, okay, that's where I got to be a little bit careful. When you're working the game, you let those go a little quicker because you've got things to worry about and you're not focused on that. But when you're just a quote-unquote fan, that's when you can get a little frustrated.
One more to follow up on that, to share that moment with your sons. How cool was that? Because like you said, I mean, I'm 29. I didn't see, 8 points in 9 seconds and all that in real time. So to share that moment with them and kind of give them the history lesson of like, that's what it felt like. How awesome was that?
Yeah, it was great. Again, I wish there was camera phones. I'm glad when we were growing up that there were not camera phones for a lot of reasons, although maybe for those instances and those moments and memories, it would have been nice. But yeah, we'll never forget just jumping around the couch and cheering. And it's just the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. If that shot does not go in, you're frustrated. You still have a long series ahead of you. But when something like that happens, it's why we love sports. And you talk about it a lot, James, and I, enjoy your coverage and your writing. Just, some of these moments you can't script, and you just got to continue to work hard. And wow, good things happen when you do so.
I like to believe that like you and Chris and Quinn are just on a text chain during the games too. How's that go?
A little bit. There is a text chain. I don't hear from Quinn during the game, but I wish I would have heard from Quinn during the broadcast because, all respect to Greg Anthony, I would have liked to have had a little bit more emotion from your analyst watching that coverage, and I look forward to talking to Quinn maybe later today or tomorrow. But there are some text chains going around, and, most of those would be shareable. Some of them would not be.
Well, welcome to the club. GIF maybe we could get here. JJ, I'll keep it simple. How would you describe Aaron Nesmith?
Yeah, I think we used to call him maybe a glue guy, and he has taken that to extra strength glue, Elmer's, whatever. I mean, he's so much more than that. And,
he's shoe glue, right?
Yeah. Well, think about this. Jake queries sometimes, and I feel like I've gotten this question every 3 or 4 months from him about if you need to add to the roster or you need another player, what is this team missing? And for how many years was it you thought you needed a wing defender, someone that could guard the Kevin Durant, that could guard the Paul Georges, that, could be a 3-and-D at an elite level. And I think maybe all along this player was developing right in front of our eyes. And, the Pacers don't win that game, obviously, without those plays. And that dunk, that follow on the missed free throw, I mean, that's another jump out of your couch, chair, seat, wherever you're at moment. And then look, throughout the game, even though obviously Donovan Mitchell had a superhuman performance, who was chasing him around a lot of the time? It was Aaron Nesmith. So it shows that defensive versatility. He could not be a nicer guy. He's one of those guys that he's pretty quiet. He doesn't say a lot, but then when he does, you remember it. I mean, how about that Pat Boylan walk-off interview after the game last week? You know that emotion is there, and it's kind of built up inside. He kind of keeps it to himself, but then he needs to use it in the right moments, and he used it on that follow dunk. And again, he uses every ounce of ability and energy that he has, and he's fantastic, and he's sort of symbolic of what makes this team special.
Well, we love it. JJ, thanks for stopping by this morning. Whoa, you got one more?
Yeah.
Oh, we're done.
JJ, will you text me the email of the person that I need to contact? Not that I have any clout, I don't, but I don't know, maybe we can flood the inbox here. We need post-game shows in the playoffs. And I'm sorry I'm putting more work on your plate, but last night, and I get it, there's TV obligations. I'm sure if I were in the market of Minnesota or Minnesota or Golden State, I'd want to go to the next game. But we need you guys on a post-game show. I needed press conferences. I needed you and Eddie. I needed you with a walk-off interview. I need it, brother. So you let me know who I need to email. Sorry to put more work on your plate, but I think I speak for a lot of people here. I needed more last night, and it made me sad that we didn't have that.
I would like more work on my plate, and you're speaking to the choir here. I'll do what I can, although I got to be a little bit careful. I know there's quality coverage going on, but I'd be happy to pick up any additional work, and I would look forward to having some of those opportunities. So I appreciate you saying that, and that's why I tweeted a little bit more last night, because I felt like I had all these things I wanted to say. So I figured I'd just get them out, and I'm glad to take Mark's text from last night to be able to join you. I think Pat Boylan and I will probably talk later today on the sideline, guys. JMV had already asked me to be on, so at least I'll get a little bit of an opportunity, just not as much in the moment as I would normally have.
Well, we're giving you free pass. You call up 239-1070 anytime you feel like it if you got to get it off your chest.
All right, well, if there's not much work in the next couple of weeks, I might be itching to join you guys live. If you're on location, wherever, you know where to find me.
Sounds good. There he is, the one, the only, Jeremiah Johnson, Pacers broadcast right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Love that broadcast team.
Yeah, one of the best in the biz. And obviously, I think Kevin's request comes with some caveats. Like if you guys just put on the suit jacket up top, basketball shorts underneath that, that's fine.
Yeah.
Waist up, we'll take it.
I mean, JJ is giving me some St. John's basketball shorts. I don't know if you recall those days, Mark, when he left me some St. John's shorts here.
Yeah, there's just shorts sitting in the studio. Like, oh, these are for me. I'm like, you put on random
Have those
shorts?
ever been worn?
They have. I have rocked those. They do. Luckily, I got to pull on the drawstring a little bit more on that. But I don't think I'm in the minority here.
No, I think
when
you
that
made a
game
great
ended
point.
last night.
Yeah.
And look,
because
I'm not
it's just
like
over
blaming
on
TNT. Like,
No.
I get it. Whatever. You have some TV obligations. But I needed something.
Yeah.
And I understand like the local rights say that you can't broadcast the game. You can do post-game shows. You can. So, Jeremiah Johnson, you have my number. I don't know who I need to email, but I think I speak for a lot of people in Pacer Nation that said they would have very much looked forward to JJ and Eddie Gill on the sideline, Kristen Airy in the locker room. I know Pat Boylan's got radio responsibilities. Whoever else here that needed, even just to hear the press conferences, to hear Rick and to hear, what was it, Miles? I think Miles got the podium game last night.
I know where you could get some of that.
Tyrese.
Right here.
Well, sure, but I would have
I turned on the app last night, sitting in my easy chair. Just to
I would have
listen to
also
it.
liked a little TV instant
I gotcha.
analysis.
Yeah,
as well.
for sure. I mean, that's why I hopped in my kitchen and did a video and just basically screamed for 40 seconds. Because, I mean, who else? I was thinking to myself, there has to be thousands of people feeling exactly how I feel right now. So let's just get something out there. And, yeah, I definitely would have been tuning in. Because to me, it was like, wow, you're riding this high. And, I mean, I was wired after that. And I wasn't even obviously covering the game actively. And then you go straight into the other game. And I'm like, bump that. I probably took like 30 minutes just to see other people's reactions to it.
Like, I'm watching Kenny Atkinson's press conference live on the Cavs YouTube page. Like, I mean, that's where I was at. Like, I need to hear something. And obviously, we've got the world's greatest postgame show. And Eddie White and Mark Boyle certainly going back and forth is terrific. But I would have liked a little more.
You can listen to Game 3 right here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. That'll be coming your way on Friday night over at the Fieldhouse. 7:30 tip, 7 o'clock airtime. Let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
James Boyd, I don't know if you've heard, but the Pacers won a playoff game last night.
Incredible fashion. I mean, if you didn't sleep, I don't blame you. If you're still, going into work a little bit late, I don't blame you. If you called up, I don't blame you, because that was very fun.
Man, 120-119 the final score. If you're just waking up and you had to work last night, I don't know. You just weren't around. It was a 119-112 lead for Cleveland with 57 seconds to go after Donovan Mitchell scored a free throw. That's the last time Cleveland would score. Not for the Pacers, though.
Last shot they attempted.
Yeah, 45 seconds left to go. Aaron Naismith had an incredible follow dunk over Donovan Mitchell. He went down. He's got some kind of a calf strain, or at least he had at the end of the game last night. A few moments later, after mistake after mistake by the Cleveland Cavaliers, giving the ball back to the Pacers and taking timeouts that they wouldn't have later on, Pascal Siakam hit a layup, and then they got the ball back again. 12 seconds to go. After one free throw was made by Tyrese Halliburton. He missed the second one, but it didn't matter, James. Just goes and gets his own rebound, takes it back up to the top, and calmly hits a three. Pacers have the lead.
Give some love to Miles Turner for the tip so Halliburton could get the rebound. And the Cardiac Pacers, man, they survived yet again to take a 2-0 lead on the road, which is very, very impressive. Now they have a chance to take a stranglehold on this series, coming back home to Gamers Fieldhouse on Friday.
Aaron Naismith and Miles Turner leading the way with 23. Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin had 19 points apiece, and they needed it. They had to overcome a 48-point performance from Donovan Mitchell and 23 points from a red-hot Max Strus. Jared Allen had 22 points and 12 rebounds for the Cavaliers, but the last minute was all Pacers because they just never quit. They just kept coming back.
Just crazy stuff. I mean, Kevin, you've seen wild NBA games before. You've never seen anything like this twice in a week, right? I mean, come on now.
No, obviously those stats would back it up.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, a couple other things I would throw in there. James, I think you actually bring up just Turner getting that hand on the ball. I mean, what a huge play there. If simply Cleveland grabs it. They had good foul shooters on the floor, Cleveland. If they make two there going the other way, all of a sudden now you're 4 down, and that, obviously is pretty unlikely. And I want to go back to the third quarter. I thought Benedict Mathurin stretched there off the bench, 19 points in 20 minutes. Again, on a team that has very skilled players, I would argue no one has that Mathurin skill, where he gets benched in the first half after 2 quick fouls, and all of a sudden he comes in the third quarter, and there is no hesitation. There's no fear. Attack mode. You needed a jolt off the bench. I thought your starting group had struggled for large stretches, a game where you didn't really feel Siakam. I didn't think you felt Halliburton really as much as you usually do until obviously late in that game. I thought Mathurin was huge in just keeping you afloat. He's the 4-year-old in the pool that you're just glad has come back above water here to catch his breath. I thought that's exactly what Mathurin did there in the third quarter.
Gotta love it. 2-0. Game 3 Friday night at the Fieldhouse. You'll hear it live here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Pregame at 7, tip at 7:30. Also last night, Golden State keeps the road win streak alive in these playoffs. 5-0 so far for the second round for the road team.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. And again, the Warriors did this without Steph Curry for most of that game, and the Timberwolves are reeling a little bit after that one. But shout out to Buddy Hield, former Pacer, having his playoff moments alongside Tyrese Halliburton as well.
99-88. And Jimmy Butler just continues to be the windshield to the Minnesota Timberwolves bug. That's where they go to have misery.
For sure.
It's true. Later on tonight, Celtics try to bounce back from their Game 1 loss to the Knicks. That one starts at 7 o'clock. And the Nuggets, they'll try to go up, too, on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Something tells me Thunder are going to have a different type of game tonight.
Every time I say that, then something crazy happens. And they have the best player in the world on the other side. So I don't know. Jokic might have something to say.
Quick baseball notes. The Braves over the Reds 2-1-10 last night. And the Cubs defeated by the Giants 14-5. Kevin, we did have one major trade overnight in the
George
National
Pickens,
Football League.
Certainly the volatile and the talented George Pickens off the field. He is quite quite the personality to deal with. And Pittsburgh says they're done dealing with him. Off to Dallas, 3rd-round pick, I think in exchange, I believe, of some day 3 picks as well. So George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb will be teaming up together in Dallas. And, of course, Pittsburgh did trade for DK Metcalf in the offseason here. So that trade announced here early this morning.
And you guys, James, will both be out at Colts camp later on today.
Yeah, we have some veteran availability with certain players, coordinators as well. So we'll hear from Jim Bob Cooter, Lou Anarumo. Definitely want to hear what Jim Bob has said about the quarterback competition. And then also, Lou Anarumo, you've added some dudes via free agency and the draft. What does that mean for this new-look defense?
Am I allowed to talk about an uneducated topic here for 30 seconds?
Isn't that kind of what we do here on radio?
Hand is raised. I am super uneducated on this. Do we have some load management in the horsing world?
Oh, because Sovereignty is not going to race.
Sovereignty will not be running the Preakness. And again, I know nothing about load management with horses at all. I know it affects their lives.
I know. I do know this. I know that there were a lot of people, especially in the equine medical community, back in the day when they would make these horses run the Kentucky Derby and then the Preakness 2 weeks later, and then the longest race, the Belmont, 3 weeks later. It's an incredibly stressful physical
the damn
thing.
Races out.
That's what they need to do.
That's what people care about is the Triple freaking Crown.
I agree.
You cannot have the Derby winner sitting on the sidelines of the Preakness. And I get that there's a lot of entities involved. It's kind of like the majors in golf. You have different governing bodies here. Space it out. Create get some Saudi money involved. Create a $10 million prize for the winner of the Triple Crown. You cannot have this. It just sucks the life out of the Preakness.
Spacing the races out is the way to go.
Exactly. Okay, a month. Okay, we go Derby, and then what? June 3rd we'll go Preakness, and we'll go Belmont. Early July. The sports calendar naturally is quieter in the summer. Space it out.
Yeah, because the economic realities also are net. Once your horse wins the Kentucky Derby, that is a 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million asset, and you just don't want to be messing around with that 2 weeks later.
Well, and you just kill the TV ratings, too, because no one, the ratings are never going to touch
sport.
The Kentucky Derby. But now with your people that were casual and like, oh, maybe he'll win the Triple Crown. Now, okay, I don't have to tune in now.
That storyline's absolutely gone. And I get, there's some,
How do you not go for that?
Some heeing and cheeing that, probably Sovereignty can get paid a lot of money to be doing here coming up. But, we can wait.
We need to have my buddy Jim, the horse racing expert, weigh in on that. But that's kind of how I understand. I'm with you guys. That growing up, that was one of my favorite times of the year is to watch the Triple Crown, and my excitement was brought to bear when I watched Secretariat as just a really young kid do his thing. That's how old I am, James. And it over the years, you saw a few other horses taking a shot at it. A couple of them would actually get it. But you're right, Kevin. It kills the momentum of that sport. It just does.
Probably spent too much time on it. I apologize for even bringing it up, but those are my thoughts.
All right, and we'll get right back to the Pacers coming up in a moment. By the way, Jim, our horse guy, says he agrees. He agrees.
Thank you, Jim.
There you go. It's more
now
Pacers coming your way. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Crazy train indeed, James Boyd. That's what we got going on here in these playoffs for the Indiana Pacers.
I just think about the people who don't like sports, and I'm like, how could you? Now, if you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan and you tell me I hate sports, I would totally understand this morning. But, I mean, if you're in the state of Indiana or you're a Pacers fan, wherever you are, shout out to our guy Isaac for going to the game, you had to be riding high today, right? Like, there's no other feeling you can have. It's euphoria.
I've said it before, Hollywood would laugh at some of these scripts. And that script last night is one they would indeed laugh at. Again, the Gen Z 8 points in 9 seconds, as I've said a million times here on this Wednesday morning. Absolutely epic. Did I see the Colts signed a linebacker, James Boyd?
Yes, Joe Bocci. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
I love bocce ball.
Well, then you better hope he makes team.
And he previously played for the Bengals, so this is a Lou Anarumo guy he's familiar with.
Looks like resume-wise, mostly special teams. I think some people have mentioned, Jermaine Pratt as, could you sign a veteran linebacker? He also has missed quite a bit, or I should say hasn't played a whole lot of defense in his career. If you look at the last 3 seasons, his defensive snaps, this is total for the entire year, 13, 10, 37. So probably safe to say a little bit more depth, a little bit more special teams. Granted, Grant Stewart departed in the offseason. He's now with the Lions, so this makes sense. And do I see a Shane Steichen 1-year overlap, if I'm looking at this correctly? Philadelphia in 2020?
Yes, Philly as well. Yep.
I think Steichen might have been, I don't know, maybe he was still at the Chargers at that point. But nonetheless, not the linebacker signing I think a lot of people are thinking about, but still, I would say the depth chart there has a lot to be desired right now.
Eddie White had sent us a text a little while ago about all the heartbreak in Cleveland, and Cleveland basketball fans certainly know that. You remember the first year LeBron went back, and they were all fired up, and they got beat by 6 games with the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry? Remember that first one?
Yeah.
That was 2015-16. And then you go back to some of the other just crazy things that have happened. You mentioned, Kevin, the fumble, the drive to the Broncos, all those kinds of things. A couple of World Series issues as well. Mark, you remember, I believe, a Cubs World Series after a long rain delay. Broke the hearts of
7
Cleveland
whole
fans
minutes.
again.
Yeah, 17 minutes.
Felt like an hour, though, didn't it?
I was hauling ass to this studio to try to watch it. So, yeah. I was like, stay longer.
And then they lost a World Series prior to that as well, back in the day. So just in the last 20 years, if you're a Cleveland fan, just nothing but heartbreak.
You guys believe in the basketball gods injury-wise for the Pacers?
No,
Paul
I really
George's leg, Victor Oladipo's knee, and now seemingly all the injury luck is going in the Pacers' favor.
Nah.
Like it was wild last night when they panned to the bench and the Cavs. It looked like a load management game 81 for the Cavs. There's Garland, there's Mobley, there's Hunter. 3 of your first 4 spots on the bench are 2 All-Stars and probably your 6th man.
You want to think that, but at the same time, I'm like, I just don't really buy the basketball gods thing. I guess I'm an atheist when it comes to the sports gods because they're so cruel sometimes. I mean,
yeah, tell that to the Cavs right now.
I mean, but seriously, even on the Pacers side, how many Pacers fans were like, oh my gosh, Tyrese Halliburton just messed up his wrist and this series is like over. And it still might not be fully right. Is that something he has to manage for the rest of the playoffs? How does he feel? And obviously, you feel really good in the moment most of the time because of the adrenaline. He got it retaped.
Yep. That is a storyline to watch. I think
yeah,
now
something
in the
to
next
consider. But
48 hours.
I don't buy it too much. I think it's just, if it's your time, it's your time. And you got to get a little lucky, certainly in these playoff runs. And they have. And as I will continue to say, you feel sorry for no one. This is the playoffs. The injuries happen. It's a part of sports. And every single year you can point to a team and say, if this person was healthy, if this, if that, if whatever, you go out there and win, and that's all that matters.
It's amazing, though, how often fortune smiles upon teams that are just constantly working hard and never giving up and doing the right things. It's amazing how often that happens, James.
Yeah, you know what? I was reading something about this the other day, and it's called like luck probability. Like, can you increase your luck probability? And basically the theory is like, for example, if you're a player in the league or whatever, if you constantly give everything on every play, does it mean you're going to get every win? No, but if you put yourself in a position to die for a loose ball, take a charge, Aaron Neesmith, put your face in there and get elbowed, like it just increases the chances of you possibly having another chance.
I've said this to my students before. I think you create more good luck opportunities.
There you go.
You know who the poster child of it is? Our very own Michael Grady. Michael Grady shared the story on these airwaves a few months ago. I asked him the question. I wanted him to tell our audience about it. Selfishly, I wanted to play the clip for my students as well. But Grady, who had produced excellent work here, one of his college professors happened to be driving for Uber. I believe it was during the Final Four, and his college professor picked up a prominent sports media agent from the airport, and they got to talking in the car, and the professor said to the agent, hey, you need to check out this Michael Grady guy. And is that lucky that Uber driver happened to be Michael Grady's college professor? Sure. But that agent, once he witnesses the Michael Grady resume profile, that goes out the window. Either you're good or you're not. Well, clearly it left a strong enough impression that Michael Grady is now where he is at. So that, to me, is you create your own luck. Aaron Nesmith's constant hustle creates opportunities where Donovan Mitchell can turn it over to where he can get the putback dunk. No one else on the Pacers were going to put back that Siakam missed free throw. But again, you create it with your endless hustle. And I've tweeted before, I hope Max Bowen grows up to play like TJ McConnell. I hope he grows up to play like Aaron freaking Nesmith. DAWG, James Boyd, as you say quite often.
Dog.
He is the Butler Bulldog, foaming at the mouth, waiting for that bone. That is exactly how Aaron Nesmith plays. I can hear my Butler coaches back at Butler basketball camp saying, like a bulldog on a pork chop. That is exactly how Aaron Nesmith plays.
I've said this before, but I'll point it out again. This roster that has been assembled by Kevin Pritchard and the perfect coach for this roster in Rick Carlisle, when you go up and down, like just the 8 or 9 man rotation, James, like where's the weakness? Where's the weakness? Now, they're not all superstars. I get all that. But there are really good players up and down 8, 9 deep that all have found a way to make their contributions game in and game out in the Rick Carlisle system.
You know what? And I'm late on this. I should have said this in the first hour. Credit to Rick Carlisle. Can we give that man some credit? Because we often scrutinize, and I say we as like consumers and fans and media, his rotations. Why did you go to this all bench lineup? Why did you do
social was going nuts.
I mean, even I was like, man, where's Ty? Like, maybe part of that was the wrist. And he did say that the rotations got out of whack, but he played that all bench lineup deep into the third quarter. But then in the fourth quarter, it was the starters plus Mathurin, and that was it. And I think that also gave them a boost. And Jeff's pointed this out a lot. The Cavs were gassed where the Pacers were kind of fresh. Their guys were ready to go, and they were able to finish better because Rick Carlisle trusted his guys. Again, they weren't like necessarily winning that game or climbing back into it. There were moments where I'm like, man, this is getting a little dire, but he trusted his other guys to help boost his main guys towards the finish line. So credit to him for the rotations last night. And, again, he's someone who deals with a lot of scrutiny, and he always will because he's a head coach of an NBA team. But sometimes I kind of forget, like, oh, yeah, you did win a championship. Like, you've done this before. You know what it takes. And so maybe he should get benefit of the doubt in moments like that.
Well, I think what he is doing in those situations, James, because I think it's difficult. It's very difficult to how you handle the playoff balance. How many minutes do you play your top-line guys, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's arguably the toughest thing when the playoffs arise. How much do you deviate from what got you there? Because for 82 games, you did one thing. And now the thought is, all right, do I stick with that or do I go different? And I think what Carlisle's doing in those situations is he is saying, I need to continue to play to our team's strengths. And what is that? For the most part, it's depth, and it's outlasting your opponent. And there was a play with about 7 or 8 minutes to go last night where Mitchell stepped out of bounds. And I thought to myself, he caught a ball and he was out of bounds. And I thought to myself right then, I go, oh, wow, Mitchell is gassed. He will, because he is
There's
a
little
great
mistakes.
player, because he's a great player, he'll naturally create a play or two down the stretch. But he's not going to create 8 or 9. And those little things are going to show up more and more. And we've talked about this play a lot today, but I think it's worth bringing up one more time. The three-pointer in the third quarter. The Nesmith corner 3 makes 17 become 14. Then the start of the fourth quarter, I want to say it was Mathurin plus the starters. Then you slowly chipped away. And if you remember, Kenny Atkinson had to go to Mitchell earlier than he wanted. He put Mitchell back in about 9 and change. And that was earlier than I think he wanted to. And the Pacers hadn't taken advantage of the non-Mitchell minutes earlier in the game, but they did in that sequence. And when Mitchell went back in, now you've got him on the empty tank, whereas the Pacers are not on the empty tank with those starters. And over the final 9 minutes, frankly, you could probably summarize the final 9 minutes of a mentally, physically drained Cleveland team and a non-mentally, physically drained Pacers team.
Yeah, it was kind of like watching my kids play their video games. There's always that life bar for a character.
Sure.
And you could see Cleveland's life bar just
exactly
winding down and getting to the end, and obviously it hit 0 right before the end of the game.
Yeah, you can hear Mortal Kombat, finish him! And that's basically what they did. And I go back to last year in the playoffs, and obviously I'm getting ahead of myself. They were in the conference finals, and the Pacers were in every single game down the stretch and found a way to lose it. This year, it seems like, dating back to the regular season, obviously up until now, they found ways to win. Not every single time. It feels like that lately, though. But they've, to me, grown up a bit more in those high-pressure situations. They've executed better. They've been a little bit tougher than the other team. Those little margins that can decide whether you're going home early or you're winning, they've certainly stepped up in those categories.
And to be fair, I thought Cleveland, and we can get more into this tomorrow because it will shift now to Game 3.
Yes.
I thought for 40 minutes last night, I thought the Cavs whipped the Pacers in the hustle department. Merrill, offensive rebound putback. Did Dean Wade have about 9 offensive rebounds in the first half?
It felt like it.
It felt like Craig Porter Jr., I thought, came in and gave them some nice minutes. So, again, this is where you can have optimism or pessimism into Game 3. The optimism is the Pacers, I think, can be better in that area and limit the turnovers. But I thought Cleveland just out-hustled Indiana for long, long stretches. Of course, the final 8 or 9 minutes of the game, it definitely changed.
All right, Scotty will put a big cherry on top of this show with a Jiffy Lube Superstat of the Day coming up in just a moment. We'll also close up shop here, but not without a couple of important things to tell you as we continue next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Finish him.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark Dykton, again, responsible for your morning soundtrack here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Getting it done on the daily there.
Absolutely. I mean, I would certainly take my shirt off after what happened last night, but I'll keep it on for studio purposes.
Did you just walk around at home shirtless most of the time?
Yeah, and then Rosie again looked at me the other day and said that I looked like Daddy Pig from Peppa Pig, and that was quite humbling there.
Uh-oh.
By the way, am I a psycho parent? Kids got field day today. I texted Maddie, make sure they're in their fastest clothes and shoes.
Yes, that's how you do it.
Would you say that's psychotic parent?
Nah. We're trying to win. We're raising winners around here.
Yes.
Okay.
She responded with a ha-ha emoji. I wasn't laughing.
You don't want any ninth place ribbons today coming home.
Can't be having, all of a sudden a Simba sweatshirt weighing Max down here.
Let's go.
Sorry, Dad. The sack race just wasn't for me this year.
You got to get Max some PF flyers.
Anything.
As long as he doesn't flex over the other kid at the finish line.
Track and field shoes for all I care.
As long as he doesn't flex over the other kid at the finish line.
Hopefully he does that Tyrese Halliburton celebration
I was
when he wins first.
That's the best part. You know what? I am not joking. I think that God gives talent to certain people for certain reasons. And obviously, Tyrese got caught up in the moment, had a celebration. They would have had to drag me off the court in Cleveland because I would have did every celebration imaginable after.
I think
after
he was ready to bust out another one, and then he got bobbed by his teammates. Frankly, he was ready for another. I thought he'd go some WWE mark. That's honestly where I was expecting him to go. But Sam Cassell, certainly a nod right there.
Scotty is going to wrap this up for us with today's Jiffy Lube stat of the day. Jiffy Lube, it's Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985. Here we go, guys. Some Pacer stats following last night's come-from-behind win in Cleveland. Since 1998, teams are 3,1,641 in games where they trailed by 7 or more points in the final minute of regulation or overtime. Pacers have accounted for 2 of those wins in this postseason. The other was the Thunder over the Clippers back in 2014. You remember that game vividly, don't you, James?
Yeah, I actually was alive for that one.
Pacers have won 6 of their first 7 games of a postseason for the first time since 2004. Tyrese Halliburton has hit a go-ahead field goal in the final 5 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime twice this postseason. He is just the 6th player to have done that, which is crazy when you think about that right then, too. The other is Jamal Murray for Denver last season, LeBron James for the Cavs in 2018, Hedo Turkoglu for the Magic in 2009, Robert Horry for the Lakers in 2002. The 6th player to hit go-ahead baskets in the final 5 seconds twice in the same postseason. Pacers outscored Cleveland 8-0 over the final 50 seconds of the game. During those 50 seconds, Cavs didn't even attempt a shot from the field. As you pointed out, Kevin, the last second heave was after the buzzer anyway. Wouldn't have mattered. And the Pacers are 12-0 when taking a 2-0 lead in the NBA playoff series. That is the 3rd most series won without a loss when taking a 2-0 lead. The only other franchises with more, Heat are 20-0. The Cavs are 18-0. So there you go. Scotty getting it done.
You want to take a stab at a Game 3 line?
I'm going to go.
Pacers minus 5.5.
Pacers favored by 5.5. So it's Jeff Rickard. What do you got, James Boyd?
I'm going to go Pacers 3.5.
Mark? And knowing you've already checked
This
it.
is the line.
Have you checked it, Mark? Be honest.
This is the line for Game 3.
Line for Game 3.
I have already checked it. I already placed a wager.
2.5.
You can't say anything now.
Well,
2.5.
It might have adjusted.
No,
I won't say anything. I did look, so I won't spoil it.
Well, guys, if you like the Pacers that much, go ahead and lay the mortgage on it. Right now, Vegas has got them as a 2-point underdog for Game 3. Obviously, we have some injury storylines certainly to watch for.
Yeah, but
I'm getting in on that right now. As soon as we go to break, I'm going to jump on that one.
Kenny Atkinson did hint post-game 1 or 2 guys of the 3 should be back. Obviously, who are those guys? And I do think we need to watch the Tyrese wrist.
Yes.
I mean, again, how much was that? Pure adrenaline? Is it a sprain? What did the X-ray actually show? So maybe there's a little bit at play there. But, yeah, at face value, it is a tad surprising. Granted, last night you sweated Pacers 9.5 for quite a while there.
I do think that Cleveland is going to come out throwing everything
one
but the
thing
kitchen
Cleveland
sink at
hasn't
them.
done yet, they haven't shot it well. I mean, even last night, the Pacers regressed to the mean shooting the ball 3-wise, which there was some thought there. Cleveland has had, I think it's 2 of their, if you look at their 90 games this season they've played, I think it's 90, maybe it's 89. They have had 2 of their 5 or 6 worst 3-point shooting games of the season. So will that change at all. Now, again, the Pacers have had 2 of their higher turnover games. You got to think the Pacers protected a little bit better. And one more thing I'll bring up on the Halliburton wrist, how much was Nembhard handling it due to that?
Yeah.
That might have been the most Nembhard has handled the ball in a Halliburton healthy game.
And he'll need to do a lot better job in game 3.
How many turnovers did he have?
8.
So, yeah, that will certainly be storylines we'll get into. But, I guess to wrap it, because we just got a couple minutes left, I just – I'm at a loss, guys. That is a night that we will always remember in our sporting lives. I don't think that's prisoner of the moment. I don't think it's any of that. I think last night and what we witnessed is truly epic, and I'm just glad we get 3 hours to talk about it the morning after.
You had kind of alluded to this earlier in the show, Kevin, but I wanted to point out one more time, too. Kind of unsung in all of this stuff, and all of it matters at the end of the day. You know, you're putting it all together as time goes on, but there were some really timely threes by Miles Turner last night.
Miles Turner, Benedict Mather, Aaron Nesmith, a.k.a. Dog. Just incredible stuff. Last one I got for you guys. Are you a sit down when the game is tied, or are you standing up in front of the TV?
I'm pacing.
Because I was standing in front of the TV like I was going to get subbed in.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
That was crazy.
I mean, Notre Dame third downs, I'm in a triple threat position. I mean, I am ready to. I'm ready to do anything.
Love it.
I'm just a pacer anyway, and I mean that double entendre intended. But I pace the room all the time when my teams are doing their thing on the TV.
I respect it.
Rosie always wants to climb on my back. I'm like, no, not now.
Not now.
Not now. Like, literally, not now.
One of these days.
Give me a minute.
One of these days.
Literally.
All of a sudden, one of these days, Max or Rosie, they're going to just hit that threshold, but just a little too big to be jumping on top of you, and you're going to all of a sudden go, oh, that can't happen
She's approaching that. By the way, I can't wait for tonight. I mean, like, to rest up the feet and to watch these 2 games
Stress-free.
after what we got, Knicks Celtics the other night and Nuggets Thunder. I can't wait for both of these games tonight.
It's hard to vote or root for either the Celtics or the Knicks, but I do kind of want the Knicks to win this game.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Thanks for hanging out with us for the last 3 hours here. It's been a great time. Mark Dykton, you're the MVP today. Outstanding work out of you. We'll see what happens with Jake Query from noon to 3 today. I know he's fired up. He's already in the building doing stuff in the other room. J&B at 3. Enjoy the day.